edition of Glenn Clark Radio, and a particularly unpleasant Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn, he is Griffin. We all saw it, we all know what happened. We're going to deal with it for a couple of hours. I already had the absolute pleasure of dealing with it on the post-game show. We got everything from the officials took money to fix the game against the Ravens, to fire John Harbaugh, to I blame Steve Bisciotti. I mean, we got all of it on the post-game show yesterday. I said to, there was an ESPN who covers the Dolphins who tweeted out that he attempted to go to an establishment last night after the game, only to find out that it was closed, and or that they were closing, and he asked why, and the answer, let me make sure I quote this correctly.
Are you sure we're ready to really rule out that the refs weren't paid off?
Well, I asked. That was the legendary Dave from Salisbury who called in. I said, Dave, what do you think they got? Like, what do you think the number is? I am interested in that. I want to make that abundantly clear. I do want to know. This is Marcel Louis-Jacques, who covers the Dolphins here. I'm not going to name names, but a bar or restaurant I wanted to go to tonight told me they closed early because Ravens fans were pissed off after the game and everything died down. And it's been a while because I don't get to go out, but that checks out for me. I 100% will tell you that I have known establishments. I had a holiday dinner scheduled with some friends a couple years ago. Had a reservation for this holiday dinner, and as I walked into the establishment, they said, "Man, sorry, we're shutting down." And I can't remember which game it was that day, but I just remember it being an abysmal day on that particular day. And I was like, dude. Now, thankfully, after some conversation, they agreed that we would be the final table they would sit for the evening. I was like, hey, man, kind of like a friends holiday thing. We've been doing it for a long time. We worked it out. But I said, I'm like, I don't know that there's a bigger read the room city in the country than in Baltimore. It's something that I get people who are like, you come off as performative sometimes. There's some guy that started a burner account yesterday just to tell me he doesn't like my postgame show, and he never has. I'm not, whatever it is, the guy started, it might be you. I mean, it might be Griffin that did it. I don't know who it was.
I don't think it's me.
Somebody started a second Twitter account so that they could tell me they don't like my postgame show without me knowing who it was, right? Because it might be somebody I know. To which I've constantly tried to say there's a difference between the post-game shows that I do and this show, because what I recognize is reading the room. I'm not going to agree with you, but I'm going to understand what's going on. I can take the temperature of a city. It might be my biggest skill in this business, is reading the room. Now, I'm not going to just go along with nonsense. I'm not just going to say, hey, that's a dynamite observation, Gil. Might be Gil who created the burner account. I'm not going to do that, but I understand how this city feels in the aftermath of this. We don't handle these things well. Now, maybe it's the same in every other city. I know it's not in every other city. And in some places, of course, they're used to. Like in D.C., I can't imagine still getting this worked up about losing a football game because you lose all your football games. I don't know what it feels like in Minnesota when the Vikings lose. I just don't know. I've not spent enough time there to be able to understand that. But Baltimore is an eternal read-the-room city. My buddy Ivan is a huge Dolphins fan. He's been a long-time listener. I like Ivan. He's a big Orioles fan, good guy. But Ivan wanted to call in on the postgame show yesterday, and I had to leave Ivan waiting on hold for damn near an hour because I needed to read the room. Nobody wanted to hear from a Dolphins fan in this city. Nobody wanted to hear, hey, we're really excited about Tua. Don't get me wrong, he played a great game. I saw it too. It's the first time that I've ever said to myself, they might have something. And again, I was never as down on Tua as the Dolphins were. Like, I thought Tua was pretty good. The Dolphins were the ones that wanted to get rid of him. But nobody wanted to hear that on the post-game show on the sports talk station in town. That's not what anybody in this market wanted to hear about. So I had to leave Ivan waiting on hold for a little while to read the room. And we'll continue to read the room. We start to differentiate nonsense from reality. That's what this show has always been. The difference between the post-game show and this show has always been, let's be like Bunny Rabbit, right? Like, let's come back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity, the whole thing. Mom Spaghetti, you know the deal. I was at an establishment on Friday night, and there was a cover band playing Lose Yourself, and they literally changed the last two words of every line to Mom Spaghetti. And you know what? I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
Sounds like not the worst.
I actually thought it was a decent. I get the point they were trying to make. They were trying very hard. This was a cover band that didn't realize they were playing at like a tiki bar on a Friday night. They thought they were at the Palladium. They were trying very hard. We start to separate now. We start to separate the nonsense from realistic issues. Like I won't engage in any of the fire to fire. At some point, if something were to go south this season, then we can have conversations about firings and things like that. The Ravens are 1-1. They've lost one football game by 4 points. This is nonsense. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself because you can't handle a loss. And maybe it's because we don't have a whole lot of other things going on in this city. Whatever it is, we don't do this well. But today is where that ends for me, where we stop it with the nonsense and we start talking more practically. My column today at PressBoxOnline.com addresses what is the single biggest problem that occurred in yesterday's game, and it's not going to be playing the blame game. This is the other embarrassing thing that we do, and I know that there are other fan bases that do this. We do this thing where we don't see the forest through the trees. People in Cleveland, if you point out yesterday that if Nick Chubb just goes down, the Browns win the football game, people in Cleveland, and I get a cover on a game that I bet, you jerk. Anyway, people point that out, and the response you get is, oh, you're trying to pretend like it's the offense's fault that they lost that game? No. By the way, can you close those blinds for me? That's not what somebody's pointing out when they say that if Nick Chubb goes down, they win. It's saying there has to be situational awareness, that playing the blame game doesn't help anything. You can't win the blame game, but you can win football games. And in Cleveland yesterday, if Nick Chubb would have slid down, they would have won the football game. That doesn't make the loss Nick Chubb's fault. It's acknowledging that they need to be situationally aware. That ultimately, winning the football game is all that matters. And we can get as mad as we want and say that yesterday the blame goes on the defense and it's the defense's fault and the offense did everything you could ask for. But the story, the singular story of yesterday's game and of the Ravens 2 weeks into the season is they can't run the football. That's the story. Now, the secondary story is they can't rush the passer. But if I'm being honest, I actually think Justin Houston's played better than I could have expected so far this season. We knew they couldn't rush the passer. Now, maybe we should have known they couldn't run the football when they didn't have their guys. We can keep playing the blame game because it makes us feel better or whatever it is. We can keep pretending like it matters who's most to blame. And don't get me wrong, we'll do slaps to the helmet later. But when you wake up the next day, you have to dissect what's actually going on with the football team. Yesterday, the secondary was also depleted. In the NFL, the way it's constructed, and this has been the biggest bone that I have about how the Ravens have built their defense. Someone would argue they deserve to beat their defense. They should beat their defense after yesterday's performance. Has been the idea that you have to build from the back. The idea that the analytics say that's how you build a great defense, when over and over and over and over again, it seems to me like the difference in winning football games tends to come down to whether or not you can make a play up front in the backfield. That when you allow an opposing team with a quality quarterback and quality weapons, the opportunity to open things up and throw the ball on 3 to 4 downs, the rules of the NFL do not allow for coverage to be what will win you the game. Can I prove that scientifically? Not necessarily. Do we all remember what happened in the Super Bowl last year? I mean, I watched it. Do we remember what the Buccaneers did in the Super Bowl the year before to the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you remember that the one time the Ravens have beat the Chiefs, the standard in the AFC, the play was made in the backfield to win the game? Which doesn't mean you abandon the secondary. It doesn't mean that you don't attempt to have a good secondary. It's that I'm alarmed by how the Ravens have built things. But the secondary part to that, and the part to me that stood out like a sore thumb yesterday, is the part where you also have to help your defense in a league where the rules don't allow for the defense to have a 50-50 footing with an opposing offense. By not letting the team that you're playing against have the ball for 10 minutes more than you on a day where you had a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. How does that happen? Well, you know the answer. Because your running backs ran for a grand total of 29 yards, and that includes Patrick Ricard. You know the answer. The Ravens lost the football game, sure, because the defense was putrid in the fourth quarter. But the defense was putrid in the fourth quarter because you gave them the opportunity to be. 4 touchdown drives in one quarter. In a quarter where you scored points. You have to, must. I went through this a year ago. You say, hey, well, Lamar Jackson can be your running game, and obviously was yesterday. That doesn't work. You are asking entirely too much. I want Lamar Jackson to run. I was thrilled to see Lamar Jackson running yesterday. But he can't be the entirety of your running game. You have to be able to choke clock away. There's nothing wrong with having 3 touchdown plays of 75-plus yards. I'd never say, take touchdowns back and prioritize clock over scoring, but you got to be able to do both in the NFL. That's how the league has been set up. The rules have been created to benefit offense. You put a depleted, banged-up secondary where even the guys that were playing were not fully capable of staying on the field yesterday. You ask rookie mid-round picks to have to defend Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you're going to get this. The way that you don't is by running clock, by establishing the run. And this isn't a Greg Roman thing. You keep coming back to blame. I don't know who's to blame because they still don't have their pieces. This is a difficult conversation to have. I don't know what this looks like if J.K. Dobbins comes back in the coming weeks. I don't know what this looks like if Gus Edwards comes back after that. I don't know what this looks like if you actually put your blocking tight end on the field. And I don't know what's going on there either. It's very awkward. I don't know what this looks like if Ronnie Stanley comes back at some point. If Tyler Linderbaum improves, because, yes, it's been a mess so far. And I'm not blaming the snap on him. I get it. The snap that's on Lamar. Lamar was pretty good yesterday. I'd be willing to give him a pass on one. Tyler Linderbaum was not particularly good yesterday. But hopefully, as he gets more experience and continues to work his way back from this injury and is out there, he will be. Hopefully, the things that everybody said about him going into the draft will prove to be true. And at some point, we'll be able to look at all of that and have a bigger picture of whether or not this can work. At the moment, the answer is obvious. It cannot. At the moment, the Ravens cannot run the ball. And at the moment, when you can't run the ball, you are inviting these types of things to happen. Now, there's conspiracy, of course. If they were playing the Patriots yesterday, I don't believe that the Patriots, Mac Jones and his playmakers, would be able to pick apart the Ravens the way that the Dolphins did. It required having truly special wide receivers on the field. I mean, Tyreek Hill's a garbage person, but he's obviously a dynamic football player. Jalen Waddle seems to be a decent person and is also a hell of a dynamic football player. There was conspiracy involved. But in 2 weeks when you play the Bills, if you can't run the football, you're going to get your ass kicked. Spoiler alert. If you can't run the football against the Bills, they're going to whoop your ass. You have to be able to run the football. The most prolific passing offenses that have ever won a Super Bowl had something else in common. They've all run the football. Greatest show on turf? Marshall Faulk, 90 yards a game. Even the Chiefs a couple years ago, but you don't even remember who the backs were getting more production from their running backs. Le'Veon Bell and Damian Williams. Averaging over 80 yards per game combined. The most prolific passing offenses in the history of winning the Super Bowl knew you had to run the football. You use that prolific passing offense, you build up a huge lead, you make sure that your opponent doesn't have the opportunity to get back in the game by running the ball. It ain't hard. I hope the Ravens are becoming a prolific passing offense. I'll settle for keeping some of this and mixing it up with the run and having a balanced attack. But without being able to run the ball with your running backs, I want to make that clear, with your running backs, it's hopeless. We don't know the answers yet. You don't have your running backs yet. And we got to remember, this is one game. It's week 2. I get it. It was ugly. It was putrid. It stinks. It's rotten. It's foul. But it's week 2. There is a very long way to go. And the injuries will probably determine the fate of this team as much as anything will. When do these guys get back onto the field, and how do they look when they do? Because if this is still a topic of conversation come week 8, they probably won't survive. I mean, honestly, they probably won't. I can't hide from that. They probably will not survive if we're still having this conversation in week 8. If we still don't know with confidence that Ronnie Stanley can be Ronnie Stanley. If we're still wondering if J.K. Dobbins is going to get back to looking like the guy that we thought we saw 2 years ago. They have to run the ball. Period. End of story. Have to run the ball. I hope that Tyus Bowser's return and David Ajabo at some point can help with getting after the quarterbacks. I hope that's the case too. But whatever they do defensively, if they don't run the ball, if they're not capable of working clock, irrelevant. You're not winning a Super Bowl that way. Get me your slaps to the helmet. We will discuss them as the show moves along. It's always the same story. 5 Ravens. This time, the guys that you blame, the ones that deserve scorn. 2 must be offensive players, 2 must be defensive players. Rank them 5-1. Number 1's your anti-man of the match. We'll discuss that later on in the show. See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Let's find out what this man thinks of what he saw yesterday. He, of course, is a Super Bowl champion. You see him on WJZ. He's our buddy Qadry Ismail, and he's with us now here on GCR. What's up, pal? How we doing?
Wow, I'm doing great. I think I know my football analyst hat is kind of turned around upside down backwards, but whew, what a game. What a game.
Yeah, that was something yesterday. Qadry, I know you tweeted about it this morning. I'm not trying to pretend like, yesterday is the offense's fault, but this is the NFL in 2022. You got to be able to run the football. Like, you have to be able to run the football. You have to be able to work some clock. I cannot believe that on a day the Ravens had a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter, they were out time of possession by 10 minutes. It is unfathomable to me how little. I get it, they don't have their guys. I understand that's a huge factor, but no matter who's out there, I can't believe how little these running backs are capable of getting the ball down the field in any way.
Yeah, so like when you see the numbers, that's when it just pops off the screen. Like I knew last week Jets game, okay, hey, first half maybe a little rusty. Then the second half, I figured, at some point they're just going to put them away and they're going to get these big runs, and it just never showed. And then when you look at this week's game, well, what is your excuse? First week to second week, usually make your biggest jump. And right away I knew I was concerned and that it was going to be a long day running the ball. When you saw Kenyon Drake, he gets the ball. It's, between the guard and center, I believe. And it's like he was patient to the hole. He's about to accelerate. And then I'm like, oh my God, if you get into that second level, there's really no one back there because they're so aggressive at the line of scrimmage and trying to, pressure the offense and what they, have that kind of all-out blitz scheme, whether it be run blitz or even pass blitz. And he kind of trips up. I don't know if his thigh hit his offensive lineman or whatever. He just tripped. And I was like, no. You can't do that. You got to get up. You got to go. So it just was, man, the absence of that run game and what this offense is trying to be, it really hurts them.
Qadry, is it as simple as just being a personnel problem? That, look, this gets solved just as soon as the Ravens get J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards back. They need backs that are more dynamic. These guys aren't dynamic anymore. Or is there a bigger problem with this scheming? A lot of people pointed out they continue to try to run up the middle when they were trying to run the ball yesterday, and there just wasn't any push coming from up the middle yesterday.
Here's how it goes. When you're, looking at the schemes of a particular defense or offense during the week of practice, you're like, all right, cool. Man, I think if we can, reach the inside shoulder of the guard or the three technique, with our guard, and by reaching that inside technique and we seal him off, man, there's some room to be had. Boy, look at that. They had a big run because there's some room to be had. Man, these guys are out of position because there's some room to be had. And so you develop your game plan, but this is what gets me. Like, once you develop it, it's not just the scheme. I mean, the scheme is a scheme, and like I said, the film is a film, but it's like, all right, we got to execute it and we got to create push. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, if I'm a coach, what do you want me to do when it's game day? And, we all heard the saying, hey, it's not about the X's and O's, about the Jims and Joes and all those things. And when it comes down to it, Lamar Jackson or even Tua or heck, even Tyreek Hill. I mean, guys that have skill sets that make you as a coach look good. You're just trying to put them in the great or better positions to have their, skill sets thrive. And I thought yesterday on the goal line in a couple of short yardage situations, the offensive line, I mean, you're in that position, like WTF. What are we doing here? Are you saying that you can't move that guy in front of you? Well, I can't help you. And now it's time to reconsider who you are.
I mean, look, I know it's been struggle for Tyler Linderbaum in particularly early on, and I get it. He missed time, and he's sort of making up for that in his development. But if you're going to be out there, that's what it comes down to. If you're going to be out there, you've got to be better than this, right?
I mean, it's him. It's Morgan Moses, a couple times they went to the right side, and I was like, well, let me just, no, he didn't get any push. Boy, gosh, he actually kind of got stalemated at the goal line a couple times. And I was like, well, okay, it'll clean itself up. It just never cleaned itself up across the board. You just look at their run production across the board, and then it comes down to it where, you make it happen. You don't trip. So you don't trip. You go 79 yards, and you're in the end zone, a.k.a. Lamar Jackson. Whereas if you are number 17, now you trip up and now you get the old proverbial hit the ball up against the turf because you're like, oh, I could have. Man, it's one of those things where the execution, you got to have it. You got to have it. This team is a dynamic team in the making. Like, for example, I'll give you an example, zero blitz, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody talked about it last year, and I kept pointing out, literally, Sammy Watkins, I don't know why, but Lamar threw a dime of a ball, and I don't know if he accelerated, decelerated, wanted to, did he feel like he was running out of real estate? Obviously, down in Hard Rock Stadium, it's that, old baseball, field portion where, you really don't have much of an end zone because of the way the stands are. So it's, you run out of real estate like extremely quickly. And yet he just didn't accelerate through it. Okay. Well, again, I was saying, look, it's a receiver's dream to have zero coverage. It's a receiver's dream to release off the line of scrimmage, knowing you can be as aggressive as you want when you're running away from your guy that you beat. And if your quarterback hits you in stride, woo, it's 88 out the gate. Well, number 7 got the memo because homeboy ran a gorgeous slant route against an extremely good corner in Howard. And then he just did his thing. Great release, snatched the ball. Snatched it out of the air with his hands and just took off. That's what you're supposed to do. So, what are we saying now about, Greg Roman? Greg Roman, it wasn't his fault last year when if a dude, slow down, well, it ain't. So I guess you don't praise him, I guess, if he put them in position to succeed.
Right.
The coaching staff, put the technique out there for the guy. Now the guy has to assimilate that, own it for himself, and say, yo, I'm going to be confident against this top-level corner in Howard. I'm going to bust that move. I'm going to do it. And then at the same time, me, said quarterback, who everybody's tripping on, as far as, well, he can't throw an accurate ball, which is a bunch of bull anyway, because of the fact he's been doing it his whole career. But I digress. He throws a dime, and off they go. It was just an awesome display. And then at the same time, yes, there were some gaffes because of execution, and you just got to be better.
Qadry Ismail is with us. By the way, I appreciate everything you said because, look, Lamar was brilliant yesterday. And for the most part, I thought Greg Roman called a really good game. The run game thing, and I know that there are people that roll their eyes because they're like, hey, you remember the defense? I hear you, but this is the NFL in 2022. You have to help your defense out because the rules don't allow for your defense to be the 2000 Ravens defense any longer. You can't do that anymore. The run game thing, I don't know that it's Greg Roman's fault. I don't know. And I'm a little worried, Qadry, because we keep saying, hey, Ronnie Stanley will be back at some point. I hope, I hope that's the case, but we've been, we're talking about him almost like he's the Loch Ness Monster at this point, and whether or not he's actually real. As far as what lingers from this, right? Because there is a part of me, Qadry, that still comes back to this is one game in week 2 of an NFL season. I remember you guys playing a game against the Jaguars early in the season in 2000 that was nothing like any game that you guys played for the rest of the year. Now, you guys won that one, obviously, and that was quite pleasant, but you became a very different team as the year went on. I am willing to say I think sometimes these things just happen. I guess on the other side, I remain concerned about what they're offering as far as getting after quarterbacks. you built the team the way that you did. You built for a strong secondary, and that let you down yesterday. I know they were depleted and banged up, but we kind of knew coming in how thin they were in the edge rush, and it's panning out so far. Hopefully Tyus Bowser helps fix that. Hopefully David Ojabo comes in at some point. But they've got to start generating more of a rush at some point, don't they?
A great pass defense starts with pressure on the quarterback, period, end of discussion. And I think this league, yes, you're right. It is slanted towards the quarterbacks. Offensive play, excitement, all those things. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if you also look at it, yeah, there's some plays to be had if you're a skilled, pass rush specialist. There's some plays to be had if you can, scheme enough to really collapse a pocket. There's some plays to be had if you're, in the secondary and your skills, your communication, and everything is on point. So defensively, there's some plays to be had. It's not all one-sided, as everyone is saying. For whatever the reason, the defense has sucked badly in pass defense for going on well over a year. They were dead last year, and the way they looked yesterday, mother of pearl. Mm-hmm. And the Jets shot themselves in the foot, the week prior. So did they get after Joe? Yeah, they did. But there were some plays there that, their receivers let Joe down. I was like, dang, well, that was good. Ooh, boy, I could see, that wasn't good. So whatever that is that you need to do to fix it, it needs to be fixed quick, fast, in a hurry from the standpoint of what you're saying. Hey, Ojabo, Bowser, who's out there? Well, whoever's on the field right now, that group needs to, hey, we got to figure out a better way of getting after it. I know 50, that dude, he's doing his thing. I think others need to step up.
It's a fair point. I think Justin Houston's doing just basically everything that you could have asked from him at this point in his career. It's just tough to ask someone who's approaching 35 to be the one carrying you in this department. Qadry, and I'll just follow it up with, are you panicked after yesterday? It was so alarming the way that it happened. Or 24 hours later, are you more in the place of saying, look, it's one game, crazy things happen in the NFL. We saw a lot of crazy things happen in the NFL yesterday. You point out the Jets. It's not, the overreaction maybe is a bit too much.
It would have been an overreaction a bit too much until you start looking at all the next-gen stats type stuff that is coming out on social media. The 711 games, 711 football games, when you're leading by 3 touchdowns or more and you blow it. Yeah. Well, it wasn't blown until yesterday. It was not in OT, not blown until yesterday. So yeah. It's not ring the alarm, the season is over. No. That's stupidity, because this is the NFL. There are going to be ebbs and flows. Heck, look at New England. New England was left for dead. Look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was like, oh, man, they're going to be competing now, AFC North. Look out. They just went into Cincinnati and whooped up on them. But then what happened? Okay, now you just saw how they looked against the New England Patriots. So, again, it is a week-to-week league. You got to bring your game, but at the same time, you also got to point out what is hurting your game. I think this conversation between you and I and whomever else might or might not be listening, because people want to comprehend what they want to comprehend, I am saying that it isn't about panicking, but it is about looking at yourself in the mirror, which I'm sure they're doing right now over at the Castle, and I'm sure they're saying to themselves, mother of pearl, Jasecki we cannot have 9 there's 11 guys on the field. I just literally in my mind, because I'm not good at math, there's 11 guys on the field, and if 2 rush, so 11, 10, 9. That means 9 guys drop back into coverage. Jaceki you cannot have him catch that touchdown pass. And you are Marcus Williams, who is feeling really good and brilliant about what you do as far as catching interceptions and film study. Or if you're, Clark, and you're feeling like, yo, hey, man, not only was I kicked off that they drafted a guy, but you know what? This is who I am, and I'm smart and heads up. I'm not clowning them. I ain't tripping. Don't put this out there on some social media platform like, oh, look at the former player. Bullshit. Excuse me.
You're
but
good.
all I'm saying is that listen, McDonald literally put y'all in a position to succeed. You cannot have that guy running down the field and all 3 of you, because I think, maybe I'm wrong, I could be, we'll look at film, I believe Kyle was in there too. So all 3 safeties looking at homeboy, jump up, climb the ladder, catch touchdown pass, and from that point forward is the beginning of the end. And I believe there was only 2 guys rushing, so therefore if there's 11 minus what? 11 minus 2 is 9.
Yeah,
okay?
9.
All right? So, boom. Okay. That's all I'm saying. End of discussion.
I hear you. I love you, man. You are so – God, I love when we get you fired up. I love everything about it. Quickly, missile training.
Missile training is simple. Spiral movements versus linear movements. You want to get out of pain. You want to get out of dysfunction. Holla at me. It doesn't matter the age. You want to get faster as you're an athlete, a growing person that is ready to go, take your game to the next level. Holla at me, DM me. I will more than put some protocols together to help you.
Love you, dude. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for doing this. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Always. Yep.
At I am Qadry Ismail on Twitter is how you follow him. Boy, he is fired up today. You can't get me to argue. Got a lot of guys in coverage. Somebody's got to make a play. Fine. I can certainly question the strategy. I mean, I have no problem questioning the strategy. A lot of ire being directed towards Mike McDonald. Is this really like leaving that many guys back in coverage? If somebody's getting behind you, what are we doing? I mean, what are you doing? But I mean, part of it is you were dealing with what you were dealing with. Brandon Stevens didn't play. Clearly, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters were not 100%. It's not an excuse. This to me is why you can't leave your defense in that situation and why you have to be able to get something more up front. Have to. Having a day over here. Hey, today's show also brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. The perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all kinds of food. Get the details and reserve yours today at ginsugrills.com. And anytime you're at a Ravens home game this season, stop by, see lovely Griffin. He'll be hanging out at Hammerjack's for the Mother's Tailgate and see the Press Box Ginsu Grills tent for free samples and contests. When we come back in, we will dig into slaps to the helmet, look about some other things that happened in football this week. Rita's going to check in at some point as well as we continue on a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
To young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
we've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
And every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy their award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try the fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or the scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for the daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays and $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. Dine in and let us serve you, or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and take it home. That's glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Conn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest. And I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
Hey, we've mentioned Tyus Bowser's name a couple times this morning. Tyus will be with us tomorrow night, Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. Oh, I don't know what that was, but...
My fault. Because,
You're going to be all right?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's because ESPN was open. That's my fault.
They have a thing.
They like playing videos.
They have a thing. I would make sure we don't maybe do that on a different computer would be the
Yeah.
plan for that moving forward. Anyway, we're going to do the Tyus Bowser show tomorrow night. Tyus and his special guest will join us. We will be at Skipjack's Crab Jack. The old Crab Jack. Everybody knows that. Crab Deck in Middle River. Hope to see you there. I know, everybody's frustrated, but you're still going to get the opportunity to meet some of your favorite Baltimore football players and hang out and have a great night. And we will put it all to bed, and then we will move on to the next one. That's how it'll work. We will put this to rest, and then we will start thinking about New England on Sunday up in Foxborough and other things. That's the way the Tyus Bowser Show works. It's a partnership with PressBox and Great Eights Memorabilia. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you miss it live, you'll be able to hear it Friday night, 8 o'clock on 105.7 The Fan. We will see you tomorrow night, Tuesday, September 20th, at Skipjack's Crab Deck. Not the other Skipjack's, Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. Now, let's dive into slaps to the helmet. Let's do that. We'll dish out some slaps, and then should we do we do the picks recap first, or do we, I don't know, I never remember how we do this. I think we do.
Yeah, I think we
picks
do picks
recap
and then
first.
slaps.
All right, we'll try to do that quickly because obviously it's the Ravens that everybody's concerned with today. Your boy had a great weekend, as it turns out, which is odd because like an idiot I picked Nebraska, but yet somehow I managed to go 6-3 for the week. Quickly, go game by game. We made 9 picks this week. Maryland SMU, it was hairy. Maryland, as Andrew Stecca pointed out, the penalties are a problem, but not enough of a problem that they ended up losing the game. Maryland wins 34-27. The balls of Mike Loxley to go for it on 4th and 9. You went to the game, right?
Yeah.
Did you stay the whole time?
No, I did not.
Well, when did you leave?
I left, I think, in the third quarter.
Well, that's kind of lame.
Yeah. Well, my friends wanted to go. We finished watching. Yeah, we finished watching the game at his apartment.
It was a highly competitive football game. You left in the third quarter.
My friend was having something going on, and so we were like, all right, I guess we'll go, and then we watched the rest of the game.
Pay for tickets?
Yeah, it was cheap. It was very cheap.
Yikes. The ball's of
Sorry.
Mike Loxley, man. 4th and 9. 4th and 9 in a tie game. Wow. But it worked. It worked. And Maryland holds on for a 34-27 victory, which is pretty important. Their path to bowl eligibility, they clearly could not run the risk of losing to SMU given what's ahead in Big Ten play. They step up big time this coming Saturday when they travel to Michigan for a noon kickoff on Fox. But myself, Griffin, Paul Valley, and Kyle Ottenheimer all got that. BYU, not competitive with Oregon. Not ready for prime time. Not at all. Only Griffin, Proctor, and KZ had Oregon, who they were giving 3.5 points, but they won by 21, 41-20. Oklahoma, Nebraska, I'd just rather not discuss it.
I know. I thought they'd be competitive.
Nebraska they might lose a lot, but they don't lose by double digits. Yeah. They lost by 5 touchdowns. I guess maybe Urban Meyer's not going to be their next coach. There's some reports that perhaps Nebraska's not interested. I don't really know why Urban Meyer would want the Nebraska job. I know that things went south in Jacksonville, but I still think he is a commodity as a college coach, and so I think that he would look for something with a bit more stability than that. Although, oddly, also, there have been rumors about him in Arizona State, which is now available, just because it's the location. Like, once you're older, you like to go retire somewhere like, Phoenix. So, I don't know. I don't get that at all, but whatever. Anyway, Paul, Proctor, Kyle, and KZ all got that one. Thursday night, the Chargers with one of the great covers of the ages with Justin Herbert, broken ribs and all, going down, getting you a cover. Man, what a hero, what a guy. Everybody except Proctor and Stetka got that one.
They say good teams win, great teams cover.
That's a great point.
And
Lone Wolves had a good week this week. Paul Valley, a lone wolf in it on a line that made no sense, but as it turns out, I guess made sense. They got it by 0.5 point. Pittsburgh was getting 2.5 points at home against New England and loses by 3 in what I am to understand was just an utterly unwatchable football game.
Yeah,
that most of the country was
The Steelers,
doing.
I think, might have had a chance with their punt returner, Gunnar Olszewski or whatever his name is. He muffed the punt, I think, in the third, and they got a big stop. Or you know what it was? Cam Sutton dropped an interception.
Okay.
And they punted, and they muffed the punt, and then the Steelers the Patriots got the ball right back.
All right. Only Paul Valley was on the Patriots, so he steals a point there. Tampa, New Orleans was a slugfest, like literally, and both. It was a defensive battle, and then it turned into a slugfest when they started throwing blows. Mike Evans gets ejected. There's some word that maybe there could be some bigger penalties coming down from the on-field fight in that game. Ultimately,
they should
Brashad
just suspend Lattimore and Mike Evans the next time these two teams play, or the rest of the time these two, because every time they see
as
each
a
other.
Mike Evans fantasy owner, I'm going to agree to disagree. Agree to disagree about that.
For the health of the league, for the betterment of the game.
Brashad Perriman was the hero for the Buccaneers. Go figure. The hero, Brashad Perriman, who caught the big touchdown to get them going as the Buccaneers win that game 20-10.
Good for him.
Myself, Paul, John Proctor, and Ken Zales got that. Big story in the NFL yesterday. Trey Lance gets knocked out early. He's done for the season, so the 49ers end up looking genius for keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around. Not that we think that they're going to go win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, but they won't fall apart with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. They had no problem with San Francisco 27-7. They cover the 8.5 there. Myself, Griffin, John Proctor, and KZ all get that point.
Starting to sense a theme here of somebody who hasn't.
We'll
hasn't
get there.
had their name called.
We'll get there. Like I said, Lone Wolves had a good week this week. Your boy was the only one on Houston plus 9.5. I just didn't understand what we saw that made us think that Denver should have been favored by 9.5. Look, I'm not surprised that Denver won. I guess I'll say I'm surprised by how poorly they played. They've looked like doo-doo through 2 weeks. You start to wonder a little bit about Russell Wilson, I guess. I don't know how you don't. You certainly start to wonder about Nathaniel Hackett, but they ultimately won the game 16-9, so they get their first win of the season, but they did not cover. So your boy is the only one who gets that point, which was critical in determining who won for the week. And then I wish I would have been wrong about this one. I was totally cool with a 38-35. At 38-35, I was like, oh, my God, The Ravens can win, and I can somehow get this one, but wasn't meant to be. Dolphins win 42-38, so myself and John Proctor were the only ones that were on the Dolphins to cover the 3.5, so we both get that point for the week. That's Ron and Owings Mills. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll let Ron buzz in. For the week, I led the way. Good news. I led the way at 6-3. Bunch guys at 5-4. Paul Valley, John Proctor, Ken Zales all had solid weeks at 5-4. Tough week for Griffin, but 4-5. Didn't lose a ton of ground there. 4-5 is not so bad. Kyle Ottenheimer, after a strong start to the season, he actually falls behind me as he went 3-6 this week. He always likes to say he's an NFL guy, but he went 1-5 in NFL picks this week, which is really bad. But what if I told you there could be worse? The story of the week in picks. He went 0-6 in NFL games, which is crazy. But even more crazy, he went 0-9 for the week. Now, he tells me there has been an 0-9 week before. I'm not sure I believe it. He's going to have to do the research and figure out if there actually has been an 0-9 week
How long
before.
have you been doing this picks contest?
I don't know, a few years. I mean, it all runs together, Griffin. Yeah. It's been a while. It's been like Aaron Lewis said once upon a time. It's been a while since I could hold my head up high. It's been a while since we've been making picks. 0-9. 0-9. So last week when I said I'm not convinced that Stecca isn't purposely trying to throw this. Remember how I said that as we were making picks, that I think there's a chance he's just looking for an excuse to come home again?
You said that after week 1. Yeah.
But I said it again as we were making. As I heard his picks last week, I was like, really? Stetka says, I'm coming home next week. I don't need an excuse to come home. Andrew, I think maybe it's possible you just want another excuse to come home. 0-9 for the week for Andrew Stetka. The separation between first place and sixth place in this contest currently is 4 games. The separation between sixth place and last place, seventh place, is 5 games. Andrew Stetka is the worm currently by 5 games. Stetka sits at 6-19 on the year. Not great. Griffin, of course, is second to last, so he can't be feeling good about where he is. But, again, he's closer to the top of the table than he is to the worm, which is Andrew Stetka. Of course, again, we're playing the loser, has to eat the worm burger, has to perform a worm, has to take a stink face and dress up as Dennis Rodman.
So I think my strategy should just be I'll just go the complete opposite of whatever Stetka does. I get all the picks too.
If we get to that point, what ends up happening is Stetka starts sending them to me.
Okay.
So you don't know what he's picked. If we
I don't plan on doing that
in the season, or if we notice next week that all of your picks are the same, then we start having Stetka send me his picks instead of sending them to you. We prevent that from being something that we allow to happen. Or Stetka, actually, we could probably say, hey, you could send them in as the pick, or you have to send me your picks before. We have to do something like that in order to prevent there from any chicanery.
Got it. I'm not going to try to do that. But anyway, it's good strategy.
KZ holds on to the top of the table, but he's now just a game in front of both myself and John Proctor. Kyle is 2 games back. Paul 3 games back. Griffin 4, and as we mentioned, Stetka is 9. A little bit of cash at the top of the table, of course, the bottom of the table. The worm is what you're trying to avoid being. Picks recap, also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, where I would encourage you to not bet with Andrew Stetka. Whatever you do, do not bet with Andrew Stetka. Best place to be for watching and betting on all football games and all of the big events throughout the course of the year. You should have bet with me on the Triple G Canelo fight, as Canelo by decision was always the play in that. But the best place for betting on watching all huge events, but all primetime football, Sunday afternoon football, the place to be is the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland.
Or me with the Falcons plus 10.5.
Was that your pick? I
yes,
forgot about
that.
That
was my
pick.
That didn't look great for a while.
So you don't. That's true. It did not look good. You don't have to wear the sign anymore.
Yes.
I don't even remember what my football picks were.
I can go find out.
I don't remember. Yeah, check on that from their social page. All right, we'll get to slaps in a second. Our buddy Ron is in Owings Mills, and I always let Ron. I already know that Ron's going to say something that I'm going to disagree with, but I love Ron, so I'm going to let him get in here. Ron, good morning, pal. How are you?
Oh, Glenn, how many times have we done these types of things? Oh, yeah. I mean, this is what Mondays are for. Appreciate you giving me a few minutes here, as always.
Of course.
So let me again. Okay, I'm watching this thing in the heat of the moment. I'm taking a step back. It's early in the season. Okay, I don't overreact after 2 games, and that's big of me because I overreact to a lot of things. However, it's fine if you want to say they should have never lost this game. The defense choked and lost the game for them. That's fine. I'm okay with that. The defense, if they make one play, you give up 28 points, a historic collapse of epic historic proportions in a fourth quarter. Yes, the defense was atrocious. However, I have a huge issue right then in the moment. I'm not just saying it because you know my history with John Harbaugh. I honestly felt it in the moment, Glenn. I don't understand going for it on 4th and 1, up 14 points with 9 minutes and 11 seconds left at the 39-yard line. In my opinion, yes, if you get 1 yard, the game, you can milk clock the game. I get that, but they weren't. You have to understand where you are in the game. How was your offense doing on 4th and short the whole game? We were not getting them, Glenn.
Okay.
And you have Justin Tucker.
So Ron,
Justin Tucker.
This is the tricky part, right? This is the tricky part is you're doing a percentage play, and I'm with you about Justin Tucker. Anybody who argues for a punt, that's nonsense. You don't punt there. The argument about
let Tucker kick.
The argument about Tucker is certainly relevant and it's warranted. I think we have gotten to a point where we believe that Justin Tucker will just simply make every kick that he ever lines up and kicks. And I understand our feeling about that. I do also remember that you're talking about a 57, 58-yard field goal, and that is not a gimme even for Justin Tucker. I know we believe it is. It's not. So it's a tricky thing because I would say if it was anything inside, say, 42, I probably – not 42, 52 – I probably end up agreeing with you and saying, look, just go up by 3 possessions. The game's over. But given that it was a 57, 58-yard kick, I don't know that you're going to make it. And doing the math between what's more likely, getting 1 yard or a 58-yard field goal, I'm not actually sure mathematically which one is the more likely scenario in that moment.
So here's my that's fair. I respect your thoughts. Let me just say these 2 things. 10 minutes later, he kicks a 51-yard field goal that, in my opinion, watching that field goal, I think is good from 56 to 57. Close, but I think it's good.
Potentially, yes.
And it was the same direction, so I don't like the wind argument that people have about the wind. If you don't think he can make I understand it's your point about gimmies, but my take is Justin Tucker to me is the most trusted asset on the team. I want the decisions. The 4th and 1 thing, again, it's to me it's about how are you doing throughout the game. How is the game being? I understand you can't just rely on the pass. Maybe we'll get it this time, but again, I think if you're executing really well on 4th and 1 and your O-line is booming, then you can take that risk. But you're up 14 points. I think it's worth it to try and make it 3 possessions. That's my argument.
I understand. I certainly understand the argument, Ron. And I'm not. This to me is not a simplistic. They definitely did the right thing. As much as it's me saying I don't have a problem with the decision making that led to that. And to your point that they ultimately made a 51, yes, but even on that kick, remember it started to straddle that upright as it went there, and all I'm saying, do I think he makes a 58, and it was legitimately a 58-yarder. They were on the 40. I mean, it was a 58-yard kick that he was going to be attempting. Do I think that he makes it? I don't know. I think there's probably a 60% chance, something like that. So then the math becomes, was there a 60% or better chance that they were going to convert on 4th and 1? Your argument is, well, the way they were running the ball, no, there wasn't. And I understand the argument. I do. I get the argument that you say, hey, look at how you're running the ball. Do you really feel good about it? It's the conversation is warranted.
So essentially, if you miss the kick versus missing, it's the same result. Yeah, maybe it's 10 yards closer for them, but like it's still the same result of a turnover on downs where you can ruin the momentum of the game.
Yep.
Like that they're both still in play. That if you don't get it there,
right,
with not punt, like the same outcome happens with you can completely swing the game. My take is I'm a selfish person. Like I look at the track record of the player. In my opinion, again, as much as I love Lamar, he's a special athlete. Yes, they designed QB runs. They didn't have it the whole game. Yes, it's 1 yard. But again, I look at the track record of the player. I understand it's crazy. I just think differently with Justin Tucker. If he misses, I can just I know I'll be upset about it, but I'll be okay in life. Like knowing Justin Tucker missed a 58-yarder and that he's getting the opportunity to show greatness.
I understand what you're saying. I'll try to do this math for you. Justin Tucker in his career is 73% from beyond 50 yards, right?
Okay.
So let's start with that math, right? Now most of those are between 50 and 55 yards. So I don't have, I can't, unfortunately, I just don't have it at my disposal what he is beyond 55 specifically. But I think that my math of saying it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% is probably right.
Where do you think the 51-yarder, by the way, just I understand how it started, but where it ended.
Yeah.
How good do you think that? Where do you think? What do you think that would have been good for him?
Yeah, it did not look like the leg was the problem on that kick. I will agree with you on that. There's never been a debate about whether Justin Tucker has the leg to make a 58-yarder. It's just that there are a lot of things that are involved with a 58-yard field goal, and the ball can move in ways that you can't expect. So he's missed a lot of them, man. We can't. He's 49 of 67 in his career from beyond 50 yards. And we love Justin Tucker, and we know he's the greatest kicker of all time, but we can't pretend like that isn't 18 misses from that distance during the course
and
of
I'll
his
tell
career.
you what. And I'll tell you, that's fair. You have the stats. I don't, but I'll just say this. Every time, I'll guarantee you in those 18 misses, I slept okay.
Sure.
And I'll just say one more thing. Let's go to the positives here because that was my upset frustration. I'm moving on because the division we're okay. But let me just say the positives. Lamar looks really good in my opinion. Outside of the fumble, I think he had an A game in my opinion. He's throwing the ball well. I like Bateman. So there's some positives here early with Lamar that I'm seeing, especially throwing the ball I'm encouraged about. It's just, you waste a Lamar A performance with that garbage in the fourth quarter. It was a collapse by the D. It was, in my opinion, the coach made an error. I understand your points. Mm-hmm. They're fair. You've always been fair with me hearing both sides of it. And that's all I can say,
buddy.
That's all I can say. I have a terrible day. You're the man.
Appreciate you, pal.
All right.
I love working through things with Ron. All right, quickly, let's go to Slaps to the Helmet. Let's do that, and then Rita's going to join us here in a bit. Slaps to the Helmet brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose from the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. You know the deal. 5 Ravens, 2 must-be offensive players, 2 must-be defensive players. Even on a day where you think one is perhaps more to blame than the other, you still got to play by the rules. The 5th can be whatever you want, another offensive player, another defensive player, special teams player, or a coach. I'm going to bail out Mike McDonald. I'll bail him out. I don't think it was good. He would have been number 6 on my list. Only because I want to include a third offense. I know that sounds crazy, but I can't let Tyler Linderbaum off the hook. I just thought he had a wretched day. And again, I'm not blaming the snap on him. I thought Trent Green did a phenomenal job explaining that on the broadcast. I'm not blaming the snap on him. But what I am blaming on him is he does not look like he's ready right now for this. He does not look... You moved on from Bradley Bozeman. You decided to take this guy who was the most heralded center prospect in forever. And I get it. He's a little bit behind the 8 ball. He didn't have a full preseason. But you married yourself to this at that position. You got to get more. They were running up the middle with nowhere to go. Tyler Linderbaum's my number 5.
I'm going in the same area. I'm because we have to mention the O-line. The O-line was horrendous. They weren't, as Qadry said, they weren't getting any push at all. So I'm sticking with the interior line, but I'm going with the left guard Ben Powers.
Fine. I didn't think he had a good day either.
Yeah. So
I thought he had a very bad day.
Same reasons. I think that was who Lamar followed on that very last 4th and 1, and they didn't get anywhere. I mean, they were just getting blown up in the middle of the line of scrimmage. So.
My number 4 is Dafe Owe. It's not like there's anything in particular he did wrong. It's just that he's not really doing anything. He's just sort of quiet. They need a young, dynamic, game changer guy who can make plays in the backfield. And I get that he's being asked to do more of the edge setting, and he's being asked to do things more on the other side of the field. And, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves should Tyus Bowser return here in a couple weeks. But in the meantime, when you use first-round picks, I'm always going to grade more There's something that the first 3 guys on this list all share in common. They're all first-round picks. I'm always going to grade. Your first-round picks have to be game changers. And in moments a year ago, we saw a guy that was capable of being a game changer in Dafe Owe, but that didn't last. So Dafe Owe is my number 4, just because they're not getting anything from him right now.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I left him off of mine, but yeah, he definitely did not have a good game, especially for a first-round pick, which I do have one of those on my list.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go. I wanted to say the entire Ravens running back room, but the one guy I'm going to single out is going to be Mike Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just was not good. Justice Hill and Kenyon Drake both have at least a little bit more burst than him.
They
he
don't.
Had 5.
Justice Hill does. Kenyon Drake does not.
And I mean, I hate pointing at the running back for putting the entire run game on them, but I mean, he just looked horrible. He had 5 carries for 4 yards.
It was gross. By the way, I'll just go ahead and give it away. The reason why Mike McDonald avoids is because Mike Davis is my 1 and Kenyon Drake is my 2. Because to me, it was the story of the game yesterday. The story of the game is they cannot run the football. They can't. So those guys are at the top of my list. So, yes, you'll probably be mad at me about who I didn't put on my list. That's fine. I understand. I'll get crap about it later. I get it. No problem. The story of the game to me yesterday was their utter inability to run the football. And it's the biggest issue I think that faces the Ravens at the moment is their utter inability. So, Davis was my number 1. Drake was my number 2. So, you're going to have my whole list here. Kyle Hamilton's my number 3. I hope there's something we're missing. I mean, I hope there's just some. I get it. We're 2 games in. You can't overreact to 2 games. Plenty of quality football players did not look great after 2 games, but we haven't seen anything since Kyle Hamilton's arrived that makes us say
he's the 14th best player in that draft.
And remember, he was supposed to be a top 10 talent that slipped to them at number 14.
Yeah.
They had to take him at 14. They couldn't go somewhere else. You can't pass on Kyle Hamilton. You're zigging where other teams are zagging. They are belittling the safety position, and you get to reap the benefits of that because you're the team that gets to swoop in and take this, life-changing talent at number 14.
Yeah, I had him as number 2, so I guess I'll just give that away. I think both of the Tyreek Hill touchdowns were probably on him. Maybe you can't put everything on one guy, but I mean he could have helped with both, and he was nowhere near. He's the safety. He's supposed to be the guy to stop that play, and he wasn't. So, so he's 2 for number 3. I had Patrick Queen. I don't think he can't tag. I don't think he's a good linebacker. He can't cover. He's not a great tackler.
I'm going to disagree with that. I thought he played well in week 1. I don't know that he played. But I don't think that. Yeah. Here's my problem with Patrick Queen yesterday. Do I think he had a great game? No, but I don't really know that he had a bad game either. The story yesterday.
He had a first-round pick.
But what is he?
Tell
me what he was supposed to do yesterday. And I utterly disagree with you about that. I couldn't disagree more. He had a really good second half of the season a year ago. Moving positions really helped him, and he was outstanding a year ago. If they had gotten gashed by the run, or if it had been a tight end over the middle and his liability in coverage was the problem, but that just wasn't the story yesterday.
Okay. Well, on the first drive, they did have a 3rd down conversion to Gesicki, and I think Pepe Williams was covering him, and the ball went right by Patrick Queen. He just stood there.
Yeah, I mean, there was an opportunity to make a play on that ball. I'll give you that one, but I don't know. I did not see Patrick Queen as being
the Waddle pass. So when they were down inside the 5, and I think he was covering Waddle for whatever reason.
He got well blocked on that.
Yeah, it was. I just anytime I don't love him very much. And so anytime
that comes off as a different situation where like you've just sort of sided with Patrick Queen. Like I think there's other conversations here. Like it's what I talk about when you draft an inside linebacker in the first round. Like what are you getting Roquan Smith? Because if you're not, I don't know if it's worth it. Like I think there's other conversations that are warranted. I just don't know that I would say that Patrick Queen played poorly yesterday, and he did not play poorly in week 1. I mean, is he the greatest tackler I've ever seen in the history of football? No, he's not Junior Seau. You know what I mean? He's not Ray Lewis, but I
just don't see him taking.
I think you're
strides
taking,
that we.
I think you're taking bigger
to.
frustrations, and you're taking them out on a player.
And he wears number 6.
Okay, I don't know what that is. What are you doing? The stand the fan bit now?
More or
that
less.
What that is?
I don't like seeing these guys wear single digits.
I think the problem is there's only so much that an inside linebacker can do, and in a day, if you get gashed by the run, if you get gashed by the run, and you're not making the tackles, that's a day where I'll say by 100% you got to get criticized for that. But that just kind of wasn't the story to me yesterday. It's a weird day for the.
I was thinking about having Jalen Armour-Davis on there too.
I mean, the difficult part for me, I definitely thought about Jalen Armour-Davis, but he's not supposed to be in those positions. It's tough. You're grading on a curve for sure. All right, what's the rest of your list?
Number 1, I had Mike McDonald.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because I mean,
I'm fine with it.
When you blow a lead like that, you have to. A lot of it has to fall on the coaching. Whether it's Harbaugh, whether it's McDonald. I'm not calling for his job like a lot of people want to, but. A majority of that loss
is absurd.
Majority of that loss is on the coaching staff, and so I mean I think it can fall on him when the defense, as much of it was because the offense wasn't controlling the time possession like we need them to. It still falls on the defensive coordinator, letting up 4 touchdowns in a quarter.
All right, we gotta grab a break because we're running behind today. As always, get me yours. I got a bunch of them. We'll retweet them. We'll share your slaps to the helmet throughout the day, and we'll get ours up a little bit later on today at GlennClarkRadio.com. Rita's coming up next. It is a Monday edition of GCR. See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Academy, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Don't miss the breathtaking excitement of the dynamic cross-country competition or the elegance of dressage and precision of show jumping. There's also great shopping and activities, including a fresh food fest, corgi race, and a beer, wine, and spirits showcase. So come enjoy a beautiful fall day at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th. Learn more and buy tickets at maryland5star.us.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The Maryland Lottery presents Ravens' Greatest Plays. 2021, the game on the line. With 3 seconds left, the Ravens connect on an impossibly long 66-yard field goal to beat Detroit, the longest field goal in history. Another great Ravens play belongs to Touchdown Joe from Silver Spring. Joe scratched a Ravens scratch-off and won a top prize of $100,000. You could be next. Play Ravens scratch-offs to win instant cash or enter to win great second-chance prizes. Please play responsibly.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling. A complete outdoor cooking appliance, the Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone from novices to grill masters to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. Constructed out of thick ceramic, the Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at GinsuGrills.com. That's GinsuGrills.com.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. there's not much we can do about his face.
Hey, later on today, Stan the Fan, Charles, Ross Grimsley are going to catch up with our old buddy Jerry Coleman. That's coming up late this afternoon. I believe 4 o'clock is the time for that. Yeah, 4 o'clock day on Facebook Live, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. You'll be able to check it out there, see what's next for JC. Adam Jones called into the postgame show yesterday and was dropping Coleman's name, and that was awkward. It was very awkward given the circumstances that we were in. But you'll be able to see Jerry this afternoon with Stan and Ross, 4 o'clock, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And if you miss it, you can watch it tomorrow, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. She did postgame with me yesterday on 105.7 The Fan. She'll be with us tomorrow night, of course, for the Tyus Bowser Show at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. She is our friend, the NFL chick, Sarita Hubbard, and she's with us now here on GCR. What's going on, friend?
Hey, good morning. Excuse me.
Are you still
trying to get my voice together from all the yelling?
Yeah, there was a lot of yelling. Are you still in laughter mode after yesterday's game?
No, I'm in denial. So am I back at the beginning?
I guess that's what it is. I guess you've gone right back. Are you really in denial?
I just tweeted this morning. I had a bad dream that the Ravens scored 38 points at home and lost. I was like, woo, glad that wasn't real, y'all.
I got bad news for you. Bad news for you.
Damn, that really happened?
That really did happen. This is like this. You know what's been crazy to me is everybody's obsessed. Of course, yesterday I feel like the most calls we got were the decision to go for it on 4th down, and you and I are in agreement. I'm okay with that decision. I think that there is room to discuss whether or not you send Justin Tucker out there and try to make it a 3-possession game. I'm listening to that argument, but I think there's a lot of hindsight involved with that argument. Where in the moment I had no problem with it, and a 58-yard field goal is not, even for Justin Tucker, is not a gimme. It is not automatic. I know he's the greatest kicker in the history of football. It's still a 58-yard kick.
Right.
The thing that's crazy to me, and I know you ended up going back and forth with our buddy Bobby last night about this, like, it's crazy to me how we get...
I don't go back and forth with nobody.
Well, okay, I responded, and I jumped in with
I said what I said, and I went on about my email.
Yeah, that's
Let's
true.
be clear.
That's true. Thank you. That's a good point. It's crazy to me how we get lost in blame, how we get lost in, well, who can we find to just blame or fire or whatever, instead of being capable of having a big picture conversation about what actually occurred, which is we all saw that the defense melted down in the 4th quarter yesterday. We all saw that.
Correct.
But why are we not talking about the fact that a team that had a 3-touchdown lead in the 4th quarter of a football game somehow was out time of possession by 10 minutes for the game?
Correct.
How does that happen?
And so, to your point, though, Glenn, I think in sports, there's nuance. This is life generally, but really in sports, there's nuance that gets lost. And so because defense was the glaring issue on Sunday, we're going to stick with that. And that's fine, right? Like, we all saw it. We know that the defense had a meltdown. But there's other contributing factors into what happened on Sunday. This is not just on the defense. There's other things. When did we stop acting like having a progressive or a consistent run game is not an effective defense? I guess that's my question. Because for years we were told that time of possession is important. It keeps the offenses off the field and such. It allows the clock to tick. It allows, your offense to stay in command of what's going on. So now all of a sudden, because the defense had this meltdown, we're completely negating the fact that they were 1 for 3 on 4th down because they simply could not get a yard. We're negating the fact that they ran 2.2 yards a carry without Lamar Jackson because they can't run the football. And so while neither you nor I said that was the main reason for their loss yesterday, we simply said that there was a contributing factor to their loss. I don't know why that's an arguable point to people. I don't know why you can't see the big picture, but people like Glenn and me can. But that's a you problem. And I'm not here to help you fix it. So maybe you should get a little bit more understanding of how football works. There's 53 people available. So sometimes it's not just one group of people that failed in the football game. Sometimes it's lots of people that failed in the football game. And yesterday's game is an absolutely great example of how multiple people failed on both sides, on coaching, in all facets. So I just don't understand why we do this thing where just because one part was the glaring part, that it doesn't mean that other parts didn't have a contributing factor into the failure of what happened. It's ridiculous to me.
The even weirder part about this specifically, Rita, is that, like, we've all seen how football has changed. Like, we all know there can't be – the 2000 Ravens could never happen again. Like, it's not – this is not about which player is on the field. It's not about not being able to have another Ray Lewis. It's that the NFL is not going to allow for there to be another 2000 Ravens probably ever again. And some of that for reasons that I think are good. Like, we don't want to have, everybody deal with dementia. We are, to whatever extent, however we got there, trying to protect the health of players, but also more so because they think it's more entertaining, and they want more entertaining football games to be played. They want teams to have a chance to come back from down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of a game because it's better for ratings. It's better for everything if games are more entertaining and teams have those chances. You're never going to have that again. So we can scream about the defense, and don't get me wrong, that can't happen. I mean, it's inexcusable that these things happened yesterday. But we have to be willing to understand that this is how football works, and the NFL is making it more difficult via the rules to be able to just say, well, you just go play defense, and it's as simple as that. No, part of your defense has to be keeping the ball out of the hands of the other team.
Thank you. Thank you. What are we doing here?
It's nuts.
I don't understand, Glenn. Like, what are we doing? I just don't understand why we're not acknowledging that, or why is when you acknowledge it, it's like, no, that's preposterous. We all saw the defense break down. We know that. We all saw it. But if the Ravens keep the ball on the field, maybe 5 more minutes, okay? Maybe 5 more minutes. They literally split time of possession in doing so, first of all, because they had 25 minutes of time of possession. So, first off, they split time of possession. Maybe one of those drives isn't going to score.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't understand. Like, and I know I'm yelling, and I know that I'm, like, getting, animated about this.
Right.
I know, right? But that's because I just don't understand how silly people sound when they act like the running game didn't have an effect on what happened.
And a significant
like, you couldn't get a yard.
Correct. It's a mess. So let me attempt to do the push it forward thing with you. Rita's with us, the NFL chick, Sarita Hubbard. Of course, she also has a podcast with Cordell, Winning Drive, which is available wherever you get your podcasts, and they got a new episode out.
Yeah.
Are you...
Didn't yell nearly as much, by the way. I was much more calm.
Are you panicked about this, or like I do admittedly struggle with the fact that this is week 2 and they still don't have their guys back, and things happen in week 2. We referenced the post-game show, and I talked about it with Qadry earlier. Like, there was a week 2 game against the Jaguars in 2000 that was nothing like what the Baltimore Ravens were going to be in 2000. I struggle with this. I struggle with the line of, should we be panicked about what we saw versus do we have to acknowledge that sometimes in football there are odd games and weird things occur, and this is not likely the story of the Ravens versus it was the story of the Ravens for one day.
Yeah. And listen, it's week 2. I mean, just remember in 2019, they got their asses beat by the Browns, week 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they made some changes, and then obviously we know the rest of the story. They go from 2-2, and then they win all the rest of their games. I'm not saying that that's what's about to happen here, because they do have a lot of missing pieces that we don't know when they're going to come back. They were much more healthier in 2019, so there's that. But I'm just making the point that I can't allow myself to be concerned about what's happening when there's 15 more games and there's people that are going to be back that we expect to be back within those 15 games. should we be concerned in the interim? Yes.
Yep.
Right? Like, yeah, because we don't know when those guys are coming back. We don't know when Tyus is going to return. We don't know when J.K. Dobbins is going to return. We don't know when Ronnie Stanley's going to be there. I ain't even mentioning Gus Edwards because, honestly, I don't know if Gus Edwards even comes back this year. I know that sounds crazy, but, like, who knows what that situation is going to be. And I think we have to start preparing ourselves for maybe Gus Edwards not coming back at least for half a season, or if he comes back at all. So I'm not really sure, how that's going to work, particularly when you look at their schedule in the next couple of weeks. It ain't going to be easy. But I still think that this team is talented enough that they'll fix some things. A lot of that stuff that happened yesterday was miscommunication. Obviously, we know Marlon didn't play a ton, I think, in the fourth quarter. Did he play at all in the fourth quarter, Glenn? I can't recall seeing him much in the fourth quarter.
I was told that he came on and we did. We actually looked up. I remember seeing him on the field. When we thought he was going to be out, we looked up. He said, well, he's out there right now. But he was coming on and off for sure. I mean, like, he was definitely not out there.
Him and Peters.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Peters were rotating. Obviously, that groin was bothering him. He didn't look 100% healthy, and that played a part. The miscommunication played a part. Listen, there's a lot of things that happen that I think there's inexperience, and then there's health that plays a part of it, right? So, today's film session going to be real nasty. From an offensive line perspective, from a defensive secondary perspective, and from a pass rush perspective. But I'm confident that they have a good enough coaching that they will fix it. And if it's a personnel issue, I remember in the past, Eric DeCosta made some personnel changes, like I said, in 2019, and fixed some things. Listen, because I don't know how long Steven Means is out, which means you don't have that many linebackers.
Yep.
So you gotta figure something out. Something has to give here. And I don't know if that means you got to go trade for somebody. You got to get somebody. I don't know, but you got to figure it out because, they're going to probably have to play more nickel and dime, particularly in that Bengals game because of their weaponry and skill talent. And they're going to need some help here. Like, they're going to need some help. So I'm not hitting the panic button. I can't do that in week 2. I'm not going to do that in week 2, guys. If this is week 10, maybe I'd be like, all right, y'all, this is a real problem. I just think that there's a lot of time to fix some things, and hopefully they get better. And maybe change that offensive line around a little bit. If Stanley can come back at left tackle maybe next week, maybe you move McCarry to left guard a little bit because that left side of that line between the center and the left guard was a mess. And
you're right.
I know they look, Ben Powers, I know he's probably a nice guy, Look, man.
Yep, it was a struggle. There's no getting around it. It's a struggle.
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle. So a lot of this has to do with the guys that's running the personnel. I can't say I am disappointed that Greg Roman didn't use Patrick Ricard in short yardage situations, particularly because he was effective. But because of that, I can't negate the fact that they couldn't get a yard. That's on y'all. Y'all got to do better.
Yep.
And if you can't do better, get somebody else in there that can.
Yeah,
and that's just where I'm at.
You're NFL
with
players. Yes, correct. You're NFL players. You got to get a yard.
Exactly.
One yard. And again,
exactly.
The difficult part is it's 1 for 3, but one of them involves, of course, it's hard to criticize Lamar, man, because he was brilliant yesterday. But you got to handle that snap. Like, you have to. You got to be able to.
Blip.
Right.
Look, Lamar probably has a perfect game without that that fumble.
No doubt.
So it's a blip.
Yep, that's the reality. All right, we will talk about it tomorrow night, and then we'll have fun. We will deal with it, and then we'll have fun. Is the way that we will handle it tomorrow night.
Listen. Ty has seen it. And look, he wasn't mad. I'm sure he's mad.
It ain't his fault.
Right?
It ain't his fault.
Look, like Lamar, it ain't his fault. I posted a meme earlier today saying, "No, y'all lost, not me."
Yeah. I mean,
because. That's science, right? Like, look, I know they his brothers. I know he want to be in battle, but ultimately he wasn't there. He ain't contributing to that hot mess. So I would hope that we can. It's week 2, Glenn. I hope we can laugh it off and be like, hey, yeah, man, that was awful. Y'all suck. So, well, hey, are you ready for the Patriots? And just like, let's move along. You know what I mean?
Doubt.
Like,
no doubt.
In this league, you have to have short memories, man. Like, you can't harp on stuff like that. figure out a way to get better and move along. And hopefully we're 1 week closer to Tyus being back on their field because they need him more than ever.
They need him bad. Yeah, he can channel his inner Silk the Shocker tomorrow. It ain't my fault. I would love if that was the case. Tomorrow night, we will be at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. Of course, at the NFL Chick, Winning Drive, and Gridiron Gals, where you find her. Love you, friend. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, see you tomorrow.
That's Rita, the NFL Chicks, Rita Hubbard. We're all working through it. We're all going through it on a Monday after a brutal Ravens loss. What do I need to do here? I need to tell you about Guilford Hall Brewery. And I'd love to tell you about Guilford Hall Brewery because it's amazing. God, what a gem Guilford Hall Brewery is. And they have a massive Oktoberfest party coming up this Saturday from noon to midnight. Admission is free. Now we're going to take a break after this. Admission's free. There are 2 VIP tickets available, and all-you-can-drink beer ticket for $30. Griffin, how many hours would it take you to drink $30 worth of beer?
I don't know, like 1, 2, not even.
You can get it for 12 hours.
Let's go.
12 hours.
This is the Guilford Hall Brewery?
Yeah, at Guilford Hall Brewery, yes, on Saturday.
All right.
You can get an $80 all-you-can-eat and drink ticket, again, for 12 hours. Now, again, most people won't make it 12 hours, but if you can make it for 5, I would say more than worth it. If you can make it if you can plan it out that you do lunch and dinner there, it's not just that what you're getting is worth your money. It's that maybe I shouldn't say this. They might not love this. You're stealing at that point. And I'm not kidding about that. I've had the Bavarian menu at Guilford Hall Brewery. It's outstanding. What a gem Guilford Hall Brewery is. 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. You got to check this place out. It is truly amazing. GuilfordHall.com is the website. Get your tickets for the Oktoberfest party coming up this Saturday. Jeremy Conn will join us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn, over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And, of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 20th at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. It's brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Grill and Maryland Vascular Specialists.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens tight end Mark Andrews' path to NFL stardom, from his late decision to play the sport full-time through having to overcome type 1 diabetes and more. Also, inside, we introduce you to football players at Maryland, Navy, Towson, and Morgan State. And we give you everything you need to know for betting football this season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of demos, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Academy, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Don't miss the breathtaking excitement of the dynamic cross-country competition or the elegance of dressage and precision of show jumping. There's also great shopping and activities, including a fresh food fest, corgi race, and a beer, wine, and spirits showcase. So come enjoy a beautiful fall day at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th. Learn more and buy tickets at maryland5star.us.
The Maryland Lottery presents Ravens Greatest Plays. 2001, the big one. New York had just scored, and momentum was on their side when the Ravens returned the ensuing kickoff 84 yards for the touchdown that cemented their first world championship. Another great Ravens play belongs to Beth of Riverdale. Beth played Ravens scratch-offs and won a chance to travel with the team to an away game. You could be next. Play Ravens scratch-offs with instant prizes up to $100,000. And please play responsibly.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
Coming soon, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, the perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all kinds of food. Get the details and reserve yours today at ginsugrills.com and check out the Press Box Ginsu Grill Tent every home game this season. We will be at the Mother's Tailgate, which is happening at Hammerjacks. Hammerjacks is where you find us on Russell Street right next to the stadium. Griffin, our sexy tailgate model, will be there demonstrating and giving you delicious samples from the Ginsu Kamado Grill and giveaways, prizes, things like that all season long. Come hang out with Pressbox at the Mother's Tailgate, which, again, is happening at Hammerjacks. And I know that sounds complicated, but it's not. Just go to Hammerjacks. The Mother's Tailgate is happening there. All right? Very easy. And we're there with Ginsu Grills, and pre-order your Ginsu Grill. I'm told mine might be coming soon, and I'm pretty excited about that. All right. He is Jeremy Conn. He joins us every Monday as we discuss a really fun day. Just a super awesome time watching football yesterday. What's going on, pal? How are you?
Oof. Yeah, it was interesting. I'm doing well, though.
All right, so tell me, this is neither here nor there, but knowing what you know about radio, when you get a text from the program director at 10:25 that says, "When can you talk today?" What goes through your mind?
Oof. Maybe was it our program director
at
105.7?
Yes, it was our program director, who I like a great deal, and so I'm hoping it's a friendly text. But all of my experience in radio is that when you get that text, it's never a good thing.
Not necessarily from him. Sometimes it'll just be like he does want to talk, or
I know.
He might add some.
I'm hoping that's the case.
Constructive criticism. Yeah.
I'm just playing into literally everything I've ever experienced in the history of radio in my life, which is like when you get that text, start preparing your resume.
One of my favorites ever, Glenn, is I got an old program director I had, and I've literally had 3, so maybe we can narrow it down.
Yeah.
But he came in to ask me how my wife was doing after a big doctor's appointment. We found out my wife had MS. And before I could tell him how she was doing or even start saying how she was doing, I got okay, that's great. I'll see you later then. Like, wow, what a classy individual you were. So anyway, but
I mean,
you just never know. Sometimes it's nothing.
Oh, I know. I know that's the case. This is literally, I was trying to explain to young Griffin, this is more my old radio tropes of getting those types of text messages over the years. All right. I don't know what to say. This is what I'm coming to a day later. Is yesterday, is what happened legitimate reason for panic? Or is it, hey, remove yourself for a day. Remember, it's one game in week 2 of a football season. A reminder that insane things regularly happen in the NFL that have nothing to do with how a season might go for a certain team. We shouldn't overreact to this, or is it warranted given how just truly awful it was?
Isn't it? I mean, it's the second one. It's the problem is. I'm sorry. Well, it's.
Yeah, I guess
you shouldn't be worried over this. You gave me 3 things, I think, right? Or did you give me? Well, what? Either way, it's one of those 3. No, you shouldn't be panicking right now over what just happened. I had somebody text me this morning, a buddy of mine, is like, still think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl? I'm like, dude, it's one game. Like, things happen. And, yeah, I mean, you make predictions at the beginning of the year. We all have what we thought. Like, as I talk about week 2 being the biggest overreaction week, like, people were wondering, were the Patriots really bad? They went into Pittsburgh in their home opener and beat them. Were the Dolphins, were they good? And the Ravens start just pounding them, and then all of a sudden all that speed and everything else caught up to you. You couldn't pick up a first down on all those 3rd and shorts, and it was just frustrating. It was one of those days where, like Mike Preston doing his report card, it's all A's and F's. Some guys did unbelievably well, and then other ones you're going, I don't know what happened. And even on the game-tying touchdown to Tyreek Hill, it looked like the guys were upset at Kyle Hamilton for being out of position. So, I mean, if that's the case, like the weird thing is they pick up one of those first downs. They don't give up the last drive. And I know these are ifs and ands. Like, nobody talks about this team having wholesale problems if they win 38-35 or whatever, but because it ends in an L, now they have issues where, in all honesty, we should go back after a 38-35 game and go, okay, what do we have to fix? I think there are issues at the back end of the defense, and I even said after week 1, I don't think their pass rush is all of a sudden great because they faced the Jets, and it felt non-existent yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was truly non-existent yesterday, and a reminder that the defensive line can't just be what bails you out for the fact that you don't have it at edge rush. You need someone has to be impactful when it comes to that. I am probably closer to where you are. Like, to me, the jarring thing, and everybody is so single-minded that when we bring this up, they're like, they scored 38 points. How can you be mad about the offense? Their inability to run the ball. I don't know how to judge it. Like, I don't know whether I just say, hey, that's going to be fine. They're going to get Dobbins back. They should get Edwards back after that, and hopefully they get Ronnie Stanley back, and, Linderbaum should be better as the season goes on. Like, that can get fixed versus saying, like, I don't care who's out there. It's got to be better than this. Like, this is atrocious. This is unthinkable. This isn't disappointing. There is no run game. It's non-existent.
Yeah, and it's another to your point too. It's not just about. Remember when Brian Westbrook was with the Eagles, and then they would build leads. And the big thing with Andy Reid is they can't close out games. Like they would win a lot of games, they'd go to the playoffs, and they'd never be able to get past teams in the playoffs. And people were like, well, they can't close out games because they don't have that big back and all this other stuff. Well, it does become problematic for the Ravens if, let's say you are building these leads. Like in the second half, you had a long-ass run from Lamar Jackson for a touchdown, and you had 3 points.
Yep.
That's what you had in the second half.
Yep.
And I'm not saying, you can't come in expecting someone to get an 80-yard run or make something happen. But, like, on these 4th and shorts and 3rd and shorts, yeah, you can expect them to get it. And ultimately, I say this all the time, and it's the smartest, smartest thing I've ever said. You're only right when you're right. And it's just so funny. Like, people don't care about what was the right move. They care about whether it worked out or not. Like, i.e., we had a guy calling today saying, hey, they were throwing all over the Dolphins. When it's 3rd and short, why aren't you throwing the football? And I'm going, man, if they throw the football and don't run any time off the clock and then have to kick it back, you're killing them for that. So I do think, look, I think there's some finger pointing that's going to go around, but it's still so early in the season to really know what teams are going to look like. But ultimately, the pass rush is concerning.
Yeah, the pass rush to me is concerning, and the run game is concerning. And, again, hopefully personnel. I hope the personnel alone, although as we have to remind everybody, even if you get guys healthy, you're going to lose other guys to injury. This is the NFL, man. Like, this is the way that it works. I hope the personnel help solve these problems, but I don't know. I am extraordinarily concerned about it. I think the other part about this too, Jeremy, that we're dealing with when I talk about why the run game is such a significant part of the story for me, is that I feel like there's still this reluctance to acknowledge how the NFL has changed. And part of this has been my issue with the way the Ravens have built their defense and saying, hey, analytics say have a strong secondary, and that gets you a good defense. Well, okay, I hear you, and I don't think you're wrong, but it seems to me like when the Rams needed to win a Super Bowl, they needed to have the play be made up front. It seems to me that, like, when the Ravens finally needed to get over the Chiefs, the play had to be made up front. It seems to me like when you're winning football games, you can have as good of a secondary or do everything you want to do in your secondary, but ultimately the plays still have to be made up front because the league has changed, because the game is different, and because they don't allow you to play defense the same way as you were once able to. And if a team gets 4 shots with a talented quarterback and skilled offensive weapons to beat even your good secondary, they're going to do that. And it just seems like we're not acknowledging the fact that I can beat up the secondary yesterday, and it was disappointing that Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters couldn't stay on the field. But what you're asking is near impossible in the NFL in 2022. Part of your defense not only has to be what you're doing up front and getting quarterbacks on the ground, but it also simply has to be keeping the ball out of an opponent's hands. You have to recognize that that's the way the game is being played. There's a reason why every time a team scores any longer, the first thing we say is, did they leave too much time on the clock? Because we know how the sport works. It's not the same sport any longer.
Yeah, and all the advantages are to the offense. And if you're not watching that and realizing that's what's happening week in and week out, then I think you're missing out. That, you know, the pass rush ultimately becomes way more important than just having great cornerbacks, because if you can't get after someone,
yes,
where that's where the advantages are. Because in the secondary, let's be honest, like every little ticky-tack touch or hold or that's illegal contact. There's so many different things that you can't do that you can do when you're up front. So it does make more sense to put, you know, a better effort up front or more money up front than it does on the back end, at least in my opinion.
That's where I am. And acknowledging that part of it is you have to keep the ball out of their hands. Like I know it's insane to say that the offense is responsible for playing defense, but that's the league, man. Like, that's where we are. You can't let a team have the ball for 10 minutes more than you. You're going to give them the opportunity to do this stuff because, as I read it, I was just talking about this, the league wants this. It's not, you know, it's not rigged. They don't hate the Ravens. The league wants it to be that you can't turn off a football game when you start the fourth quarter just because a team is up by 3 touchdowns. They want to make sure that the games can be as competitive as possible. They want the benefit to be that the offenses can come back, so you have to stay tuned in. You have to stay tuned in because you don't know what might happen. This is what the league wants. And just because you want to believe that there can be a 2000 Ravens defense and you can just lock down and shut down and do it doesn't change the reality of this is the NFL now. The NFL is, we can say, hey, this hadn't happened in years where a team had blown a 3-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter. I'll make this bet right now. It's going to happen again in the next 2 years. Like, this is the league.
So the league wants Tua to lead the league in passing and Joe Flacco to be third.
Correct. That's exactly what they specifically picked those guys.
Elite quarterback play is what they want. No, look, you're right. They want, you know, we throw around the word parity, mediocrity, all that stuff all the time. But let's be honest, like they want competitive games. They want people tuning in. They want what they had in that Raiders game yesterday with the great comeback, and then it goes to overtime. And then here we are, you know, there's more commercials. You got more action. People are talking about it. I mean, the games were insane yesterday, and I don't even know that they topped week 1, how insane that was, but it's pretty damn close. It was a lot of fun, depending on who you were rooting for. But yeah, it was frustrating to see the way that the Ravens lost. And to your point, like we always do this. Everybody needs a scapegoat, and they need someone to point the finger at. Like, this is why we lost. The secondary is terrible. But it all goes hand in hand. Like, you know, you can have your great defense could actually be your offense, keeping another team's offense off the field if you're moving the chains. That's why the first real drive that they had that went 10 minutes and they came up empty with the fumble down by the goal line. Like, that was huge. And I'm like, here they are. They're back to that form that they had where they're moving the chains, converting these third and shorts, making it interesting, keeping teams on their heels. And they couldn't punch it in when they got down there, which was just so strange.
In a weird way, Jeremy, looking back on it, I think that the 2019 defense was probably given far too much credit because the truth is they were just asked to do much less. Like,
they were fresh. They didn't have these type of issues. They weren't put out there after 3 and outs all the time. Like that's a recipe for disaster for an offense.
Biggest takeaways from you 2 weeks into the season? I know there's still 2 more games to come in, but by the way, this is so weird what they're doing tonight. I guess I appreciate the fact that both games are at least on TV, that it's not like some bizarre regional thing. But it is very weird that they're doing this tonight. What do you think? Because to your point, basically everyone's 1-1. Like, this is exactly what the NFL wants outside of like Buffalo, Kansas City. What do you think we've actually learned 2 weeks into the season?
Man, that's. I'm not trying to sidestep a question because I'm an opinionated person, but I really don't know what we've learned from these teams, because I think anything can happen is maybe what we've learned. Like, for example, the Falcons could have knocked off the Rams. The Rams could have easily been 0-2.
Yep.
We had I brought it up this morning when they asked me what the ugly was around the league. We did the good, bad, and the ugly. And I said, if you think about fourth quarter defenses with the Ravens, with the Raiders, who else is in there? The Browns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one, which nobody's really talking about, was it was a 3-0 game, so it didn't feel like an insurmountable lead. But the Saints gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter to the Bucs, who looked just lifeless yesterday until that fight happened. But I just think whether it is parity, mediocrity, whatever we want to call it, I don't think you can sit here and go, okay, that team stinks, that team stinks, that team's good. Like, we all came in with foregone conclusions. Take the AFC South, for example. Who's good there? Like, if the Titans knocked off the Bills tonight, I, for one, wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it happens. Whereas most people are like, oh, my God, I can't believe that upset. But,
Right.
We've seen it week after week now with 10-point favorites going down, or at least, making the game interesting in the end. I don't know what to think about the Broncos, I'll tell you that much, because that's a team that I just don't see too much in.
Yeah, I don't see. It does not look good. And it looks like Nathaniel Hackett might be in over his head there.
Oh, oh my God, there were so many bad moments yesterday of him.
Jesus.
Yeah. Ugh.
All right. Where are you? Let me side over because we've been talking football all morning. Where are you with this MVP debate? Because it is honestly, I've mostly avoided it, but it has gotten to the point of being utterly fascinating to me that Aaron Judge really could win the Triple Crown, and you can't. Our friend Rami, who works over there, was a huge Yankees fan. He's like, well, dude, he's got to be the MVP. I'm like, dude, I know how you feel about it. I understand, but I also
why does he have to be the MVP?
Right.
Because he won the Triple Crown?
Right.
Because, so if you went back to it, so go back to the year that Trout lost and Miguel Cabrera won when he won the Triple Crown, there are many, many people that would tell you that Trout had a far superior season, even though he wasn't the Triple Crown winner. Like, when you look at his overall numbers. So here's the dilemma. Anybody to me that's saying, hey, Aaron Judge should win it because he's on a winning team, I can't have a conversation with you, because that's not the end all be all. Like, you can't change your value to a team because of where you're at. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is perform to the best of your ability. The catch-22 about this is, if you give the award to Shohei Ohtani, it's his award to lose every year because there's nobody in the league that can do what he's doing.
This is the trick. What you just said is are we setting ourselves up for it just has to be Shohei Ohtani every year? And that's I don't know how to answer that, because this is what it's excruciating for me. I do think that by the definition of valuable, Shohei Ohtani is more valuable than Aaron Judge is. Like, I can't, if we're just going by the definition of the word valuable, but I don't know what to do with this. And maybe that ultimately is the argument, that we just have to recognize this era, that what Shohei Ohtani has done is so much more unique and different than what anyone has done in a century, that if that means he wins 6 straight MVP awards, so be it. How else do we acknowledge what it is that we're witnessing in this guy?
What happens if he wins the Triple Crown, which, is the Cy Young Award, the MVP. Like, he could MVP and best. He could win all these different awards for what he's done this year. And again, so if you ask me, I think Shohei Ohtani is the MVP. And I'm not looking at. I'm not one to I think an MVP can come from a losing team. That's why I have always said I think they should put a caveat in there that it's not the value. Value is different to everyone else. And you can't. It's very hard to judge who's more valuable. Like, people go, well, if you take Judge off, the Yankees are not in first place. Yeah, but if you take Ohtani off, think about how bad the Angels would be. And if Ohtani and Judge switch places, which team would be better? It's I have a hard time with that. So I almost feel like it should be the most outstanding hitter, most outstanding pitcher, whatever. If you want to call it Cy Young, you want to call it this or that. I don't care. But you do set a precedent if you make Ohtani the MVP, that it's his award to lose almost every single year. Now, I don't know that he can come back year in and year out and do what he's doing. But I do think he's the guy that should win it this year. Trout, Trout just had one of the most amazing seasons I've ever seen. So it's a nice problem to have, I guess.
Does it matter to you, the argument when it comes to WAR? Does that impact the fact that Aaron Judge is at 9.6 WAR and Ohtani's at 8.7, even given everything he does? There are those that argue that the MVP should just be the guy that has the highest WAR for the season. That's who your MVP is.
See, and I don't necessarily agree with that either. But again, I think a WAR can be a little overrated at times. But here we are, we're splitting hairs talking about statistics that matter. I don't know. Are we going back to the old Russell Westbrook debate because he averaged a triple double for the season and it's never been done before? That And I guess you could use that either way you want, but more so for Ohtani because Westbrook came back the next year and averaged a triple-double, and he didn't win it.
Right.
Because I guess we'd already seen it. Maybe that's what changes. It really is a loaded question, but I can't stand the argument that Aaron Judge is on a winning team. Like Bob Nightingale was like, "Oh, you have to give it to Judge because he's on a winning team," and I'm like, "What does it have to do with anything? It doesn't have to do with what the individual's doing."
I am in agreement that the winning team thing. As I say that, if somebody said to me, "I think it's essentially a dead heat. One of the teams is winning, so I'm going to vote for that guy," I wouldn't.
Okay.
I don't think that's horrendous. To say that the guy has to be on a winning team, no.
So let me ask you this then, Glenn. If you find out Judge wins the MVP or Ohtani wins the MVP, does one upset you over the other because they're both deserving?
No, not at all. I think and part of it is I just don't get worked up about things like that. I guess the question would become if Aaron Judge was playing for the Baltimore Orioles and everything else was the same, right? Like, would I be emotional about that is really, I think, what the question is. And
well, it's funny you say that because I'm going to go back to basketball when we were talking about Jokic versus Embiid.
Okay.
And analytically, when you look at Jokic, he was so far above and away better than – like, Jokic won the MVP the year before, and he was even better than that season. His usage rates, everything was off the charts ridiculous. Like, his season was on par with, like, statistically, some of Jordan's greatest years ever when he won it. So it's like it's very hard to argue that Jokic wasn't. But I would talk to Sixers fans that are like, "Oh my God, you got to give it to Embiid."
Right.
And I'm going, "Why?" It's like, "Did you see what he did? He led the league in scoring." I'm like, "Okay, guys, there's all these different things that factor into it." So the debate always comes up, but maybe that bias would come in.
It's tough, man. It's tough. I have come around to it's a really compelling. The only problem I have is when somebody tries to sell me that it's a slam dunk. Like I just can't get on board. It is not a slam dunk. It's not. No matter how badly you want it to be, or no matter how much you want me to acknowledge that, we think that this is a guy who's not using steroids, which, by the way, we have to say it that way. You can't say, well, this is a guy who's hitting 60 home runs without steroids. Well, we think that. You're not getting me to just say those words because I'm far too smart to say those words. I don't know what anybody's doing. I have no clue what dudes might be doing. Then you got to factor in the, how many home runs did he hit at Yankee Stadium that might not be home runs in 13 other ballparks, and it doesn't mean because he's playing at Yankee Stadium, so it counts. You can't just say it's not a home run, but all of these things, this is minutia that comes when you have a really good, this is one of the best arguments to me that we've ever had for something prominent like this. Like, there are really good arguments to be made about the nature of the MVP award, and I don't know the answer. I do know that the Orioles aren't making the playoffs this season. I do know that. What
are they, about 1% right now to make it?
4 games back with 17 games to go.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, look, man. And as I say, they're not. It's wrong for me to say. I don't know that, but dude, it's sad.
You need somebody to collapse. I mean, you really do. You need the Rays or Jays all of a sudden to forget how to play, and I don't mean like lose 17 games in a row. It's not that bad, but you need them to kind of slow down. And even the teams in the Central, they're all playing one another. It just seems like, oh, you win 2 out of 3, and I win 2 out of 3, and you win. Just the Orioles, meanwhile, they're not stringing together series wins. Now you have the Tigers. Now if you sweep them and somebody else loses, would you feel a little bit more interested then or feel better about yourself? Sure, but right now as it stands, you have a 1% chance or slightly above it to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Mariners that you're for. If the but they don't. I'm pretty sure their schedule's weak the rest of the way. So
they got the Angels. You're sitting here talking about, we got the Tigers, and then they're playing the Angels.
Yep. So. I just don't see it. I don't see it. All right, everything good with you? How's CPR practice coming? Do you need me? When do you need me to come? When do you need your live human to practice on?
I named my dummy Glenn, if you're, you can call him Mr. Clark.
Yeah.
And I gave him mouth to mouth.
If you're nasty.
Yes. Yeah. Mr. Clark, if you're nasty. Right. I'm so surprised you haven't used or have you maybe in years past, the clip from Lean On Me.
Oh,
we don't want another principal. We want Mr. Clark.
That's true.
Like you could have that and incorporate that. It would be good. But no, but in all seriousness, like CPR class was fine. I learned quite a bit about how to give CPR to babies and all types of people. So if you're short of breath, my mouth is yours.
My man, that's what I'm looking for.
Is that what I'm supposed to
That's
say?
exactly what you're supposed to say. If you're ever in trouble and you need someone else's breath, Jeremy Conn, his mouth is yours. That is beautiful. And I'm pretty sure that's what
I
they
wait
teach you
around the track over by Parkville High School, and then when people start to get out of breath,
you all right?
I come over and try to put my mouth on them. Yeah.
What's
a little tough workout here, bud. Put your lips on mine. What? Anyway.
Picks every day at PressBoxOnline.com. What's coming up on the Big Bag Morning Show this week?
Yeah, I kicked the NFL's ass yesterday.
Yes,
baseball wasn't kind to me, but hit my top plays over the weekend. And again, depending on when you got the lock, you at worst you pushed, but I'm hoping everybody gave it out at 1.5 and 2.5, and then eventually went to 3. But this week we're all 3 in. I mean, we'll obviously be recapping this loss and whose fault it was all week long, getting ready for the Patriots, where they're 3-point favorites on the road. And from a gambling standpoint, I can tell you I'm not going to be on the Ravens this week, so I'll be on the Patriots. But I don't like this spot at all. It's their home opener. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I hope the Ravens win and 22-20. So
okay, we will watch that. Did I also see that you are you're joining Stan and I, and you are bearing all for the good folks in Hamden?
Yeah, I got to make a phone call because, I'm in. The only problem is the time restrictions because I'm still taking all these classes, and then I leave for Jamaica next Wednesday.
Oh, what the hell, man? What's going on there? You're going to Jamaica? Jeez, that's nice.
Yeah, maybe I'll get – somebody overheard me today. I said, just tell me where, and I'll show up, and I'll strip my clothes off.
100%.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, no.
I said, it's a kid's party I'm attending.
Correct. Stand by it. Stand by it. Whenever you need him, Jeremy's there to take all of his clothes off and offer you his mouth. That's the way that it works.
Yeah. See, I'm a very giving lover.
Stan and I did our photo shoot on Friday for the Boys of Hamden calendar. You've experienced a lot of things, my friend, but you haven't quite experienced doing a naked photo shoot with Stan the Fan Charles. You've done a lot of things in your life.
Did you strip down completely naked, or were you?
We did not get completely naked. That did not.
Because I think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm just taking it all off.
You're bearing all. You're in full frontal for the Boys of Hamden. Hey, Shawn Michaels did it once.
I talked about this too because, I think I might have the cameraman actually put together a calendar and give it to my wife for our anniversary.
Oh, no, Chris Comfort, who's the photographer, is outstanding at that. By the way, he is excellent when it comes to that. So I think that's a good play. Yeah, we had a day last Friday posing for the Boys of Hamden. BoysOfHamden.com. Pre-order your calendar. It helps the Hamden Family Center. At Jeremy Conn.
Yeah, I think we're going to hold a symbol in front of my crotch so nobody can see anything. So we'll be good.
You'll be all right. That's really weird how that works out. Just a nice. You were like, give me a Monopoly piece and we'll be okay here. Yeah. Don't have to worry.
Covers everything.
All right, buddy. Love you. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
It's Jeremy Conn, 105.7 The Fan. Big Bad Morning Show. If you have not picked up the print issue of Pressbox, the plan originally for our photo shoot was that we were going to cover myself with this print issue of Pressbox. The irony is it says larger than life right there on the cover because the story is about Mark Andrews. Thought that would be a clever play. We found some other shots that we think we might end up using instead, so I don't know if that's the shot. We took plenty of those pictures.
Can we share those somehow? If they're not used in the calendar?
No, because we need people to buy the calendar.
No, I mean if the larger than life ones don't see the calendar.
Nope, we're not giving anyway. I'm only showing skin for the calendar. You're not getting. You guys all want your freebies. Everybody wants their freebies.
Yeah.
They all want their taste.
Well, you've been talking about starting an OnlyFans.
I know.
So
it's going to cost you. Well, maybe after the calendar's been out for a little while.
Store these photos.
We get to February or so, something like that. Maybe I'll think about it and OnlyFans to benefit a charity. But we're not doing nothing for free. I'm still mad at my wife about that, by the way. I told everyone, my wife, when I did that stupid car wash, I said, not stupid, it was lovely. I had a lovely day. It's unfair. I said, you can't. She kept asking if she could take a picture. I said, no, you cannot. No. I need people to come to the car wash. And, of course, she shows up at the car wash and starts taking pictures. And then posting them on Facebook. My wife. Can't do that. You want to see the goods? And I know you do. You've been asking me for years. When you going to do full nude? When you going to get there? I get it all the time. You and Shannon Sweeney. I get it. It's the two of us. Always have. We're so demanding. When are we going to get to see everything? Well, she went ahead and did it. Now it's time for me.
Shannon Sweeney?
Is that her name?
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney
Yeah,
Sweeney. Whatever the hell her name is. I don't know what her name is. How would I know what her name is? I'm 40.
I guess you were pretty close.
Sydney Sweeney, who's also lovely. I'm sure Shannon's lovely too. Maybe it's her sister. I hear their family might be. Might be a few questions about the old Sweeney family. Yeah, the Sweeneys. The point is, we did attempt to have this held in front of me, this larger-than-life issue of Press Box. Mark Andrews is on the cover. Great cover story from Bo Smolko. Go get it for free right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. When we come back in, tidbit tubular to wind down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone from novices to grill masters to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. Constructed out of thick ceramic, the Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at GinsuGrills.com. That's GinsuGrills.com.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip, that first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy their award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try the fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or the scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for the daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays and $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. Dine in and let us serve you, or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and take it home. That's glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
The Maryland Lottery presents Ravens' Greatest Plays. It was called the Mile High Miracle, a 70-yard touchdown pass against Denver with 30 seconds left to send the game into overtime. The Ravens eventually won, propelling them to the championship. Another great Ravens play belongs to Diane from Annapolis. Diane played Ravens Scratch-Offs and won season tickets for 20 years. You could be next. Play Ravens Scratch-Offs with instant prizes up to $100,000. And please play responsibly.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show too.
It just seems... It's the guy that runs the company that's saying that. It just sort of seems like maybe he should be a little bit more encouraging about what it is that we're doing here. Final segment of a Monday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by the Maryland 5-Stars. See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. John Proctor, I'm not looking forward to seeing Jamar Chase play the Ravens in upcoming games, although Cincinnati's line has been giving up sacks like candy. Yeah, that would be the one thing that you'd be encouraged by. Boy, the Bengals in trouble at 0-2. I say in trouble. It's 2 games into the season. They're not really in trouble. But it hasn't looked good, obviously, for the Bengals. They have not been the team that we saw them becoming late into last season and into the postseason with the super explosive offense that we expected. Will they get that fixed? I don't know. I mean, they thought it's interesting. We definitely had somebody on, and when I talked about, I can't remember who we had on before the season. We were talking about the division. They brought up like, it might have been on the radio show. It might have been Greg Rosenthal, my partner from NFL.com and NFL Network, who said they spent a lot of money, but I'm not really sure that they actually upgraded their offensive line. And what he pointed out was like they did the bit where you can only sign the guys that are available, and so you have to throw a bunch of money in order to get them because they're available. But I remember him saying, I'm not really sure how good some of these guys actually are.
There was a quote from Lyle Collins going around yesterday that was like, before the season, he was like, they're talking about like Joe Burrow being sacked a lot. And he was like, yeah, that's going to change now that I'm here. And so hasn't.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. And again, I still, like, there will be people that will be like, oh, you had the chance to get Penei Sewell and you took Jamar Chase. Yeah, you took Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get me to do this. This is who was it that, who was the cornerback that went right before Ronnie Stanley? It was Ramsey, right? It was Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey.
Like, I know that we feel differently about it now because Ronnie Stanley, since the injury, it's been a disaster, but you couldn't get me to be mad about that. Like, you got Ronnie Stanley. That's a really good pick. Yes, Jalen Ramsey's really good, but Ronnie Stanley's really good. Now, of course, we feel far differently about that today than we did before he got hurt. But in the moment, you couldn't get me to have that debate and fight about that because you got a really good football player. Bengals are a mess. Which is the only good thing out of yesterday for the Ravens was everybody in the division lost. So, no harm, no foul, I guess. Yeah. But you got to be better than this. Like, you have to be better than this. Plain and simple. Nick Kelly messages, and it disturbs me. Nick Kelly, my friend, who I thought was my friend, says the following. Says, hey, Glenn, I know this is a crappy morning football-wise. My personal opinion is if the running game was better, the defense isn't on the field as much in the fourth quarter, and yesterday doesn't become the disaster that it was. Okay, agree. I'm extremely worried about the offensive line and the run game. I think a balanced offense might help the D, and hopefully when Bowser returns, things will get better on that side. But I'm not optimistic about Dobbins or Edwards coming back and everything just going back to normal on the offense. Okay, I mean, all reasonable. But that's neither here nor there. Oh? What I wanted to email you about was this. My wife stumbled upon this recipe this weekend and asked me if I could ever eat this, and we both agreed, no chance. It's called hoop fish bake, and somehow it includes pollock fillets and SpaghettiOs. Maybe this is your next food bet.
Thanks, Nick.
Sends me the recipe. Here's what you need. 2 13-ounce pollock fillets, defrosted and chopped into bite-sized chunks. 10 cherry tomatoes, halved, or 2 tomatoes, chopped. 3 green onions, finely chopped. 2 red chilies, thinly sliced. 7 florets of broccoli, chopped roughly. What does it mean, chopped roughly? Like the way that you chop them? That's some rough chopping that you're doing there, Steve.
Or it's just a loose chopping. Like.
I don't really. Yeah, right? Like it's a weird. Or you could use defrosted frozen broccoli with all the moisture squeezed out. Okay. 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon smoked paprika, 2 13.5-ounce cans of spaghetti hoops, such as SpaghettiOs, drained.
I like SpaghettiOs.
With fish? First of all, one, really? Do you really like SpaghettiOs? Yeah. I know you're young, but you're not 12.
I know, but
come on.
If there was nothing in my kitchen, but there was a can of SpaghettiOs sitting there, I'd be like, you know what? It's not the worst.
So there's 2 things that jump out at me about this. One, yes, this sounds truly awful, Nick. I don't know how this exists. 2,
I love how precise the recipe is.
While it does come off a little bit forced, and I said I don't want to do these things when they're forced, I want them to be more broad than that. I could also find it being the type of thing that if we put a video out, and Micah sent me the video. I don't know if it's up on YouTube or TikTok yet. We got to work on that. I thought I gave Micah the sign-in, so hopefully he'll post it himself. I could see it maybe being the type of thing that like gets you a little bit of maybe gets a little like people are like, what is that? And they look it up. I don't know if you can find, if you search hoop fish bake on the internet, I don't know if it'll come up and get you the answers that you're looking for.
See what happens.
But I'm not I'm not opposed to that. The real issue is it requires work.
Oh yeah, never mind. This looks awful.
It's horrendous. Yes, but that's the real problem.
Yeah, it requires work.
The other ones we've done required very little work. I absolutely cannot do this work. So if Griffin wanted to make this a side bet for this week's picks, the problem is, even if I lost, he would still have to be the one that prepared the food. Now I'd be willing to eat it, and I'll pay him. I'd pay him for all of the costs. Like I do all of that, but I just don't have the time right now. We got busy week.
My sister might want to make it. Like she enjoys cooking, and so I think I could like she would help me. Is what I'm saying, because I'm not a great cook.
So do you want to do it?
Yeah, why not? I don't know why she wouldn't want to. So yeah.
You lost the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Head to head.
So the law of averages say I'm due to like completely flip that.
But you understand in betting that there's no such thing, right? Like there's no such thing as being due in betting. Like you understand that, right?
No, I don't. I believe.
I know.
I believe there's such thing.
That's how they get you. That's how betting works. That's how they get you. Now, for what it's worth, I'm not trying to. I absolutely. It's pure luck. You can't watch the NFL yesterday and think that the results are anything other than pure luck. There is no skill involved in knowing who is going to win these games or what they're going to win them by. If you will make it, I'll do a hoop fish bake side bet with you for this week's picks.
All right.
But I'm telling you, I just don't have the time. I don't have the time. I'm using bandwidth a lot now. When I try to explain to people what's going on, I'm like, dude, I just don't have the bandwidth. That's where I am. That's my thing. I'm an 80-year-old man. I just don't have the bandwidth to be able to prepare something like this. But if I lose,
I think the Ravens play at 1 on Sunday.
Yes. If I lose, I will. But you won't have the answer because we might pick the Sunday night game this week.
Okay.
So
I'd still be making it. Like one of us would be eating it.
Oh, either way, right? Is what you're saying. Well, or both of us if we tie.
Both of us,
if we tie, and what are we saying? Because this is a casserole. We're not going to eat the entirety of the casserole.
I guess.
How much of it are we?
We're going to make the whole thing too. I guess.
You're going to make the whole thing. I think maybe like a plate's worth, something like that is what someone would have to eat.
Yeah, like a square.
I mean, like a lasagna-sized piece is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that. Lasagna-sized amount of the casserole is what somebody would have to eat in this circumstance.
Pollock fillets.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind fish and like.
Yeah.
But fish and SpaghettiOs, that's a giant no, dog. Like, what the hell are we doing? What? This is like when we did the milk and spaghetti pie with Gonzalez a couple years ago. Like, what in the
milk
world?
And spaghetti, like the milk was in the.
Yes,
Ooh.
it was truly disturbing.
The breadcrumb topping sounds like that has potential.
No, it does not. Stop. No, it does not. Actually, that's the part that I least look forward to because I don't eat bread. So that would be a big problem. All right, we're winding down. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by Glory Days Grill, where I promise you the food is so much better than this. Oh, my God. They would never serve this to you at Glory Days Grill. They have the Oktoberfest menu going at Glory Days Grill. We tried all of it. The Brewer sausage platter, the Brewer sausage sandwich. Oh, my God. The cheddar ale soup, which is great on its own, but also good for dipping, the delicious Bavarian pretzels that you can get. How about the Bavarian burger on the pretzel bun, melted in my mouth, the chicken schnitzel. God, I've had dreams since we had all that food in here last week. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in now.
All right, I got a couple things to go over since yesterday in the NFL. Obviously, the first one, Qadry mentioned it. It was the 0-711 teams were. That was their record.
Great.
The last 12 years from 2011.
But I believe the number is even more dramatic for what the Jets did. I believe it's like
let me
thousands.
See.
It's been
it was thousands. So from 2011 to 2022, it was from ESPN Stats and Info. Teams that were leading by 21 points or more in the fourth quarter were 711-0. Of course, the Ravens lost. The Jets one that I have here, the Jets teams down by 13 in the final 2 minutes. They had lost 2,229 straight games. The last win was in 2001 when the Chicago Bears, they beat the Cleveland Browns.
I did see that, actually. You know what? I did see that. And you know the funny part is Griffin did check our bets. So we give some tips for everybody on the live casino and hotel social media pages. And my bets this week were Mark Andrews anytime touchdown scorer. Let's go back to the well. So
good job.
thumbs up on that. My other one, of course, was the Browns. I believe it was also my lock winner when Stan and I did our picks this week. And if Nick Chubb just goes down, I would not be able. If I was doing radio in Cleveland, like everybody would be furious with me because be like, dude, the defense blew it. Like I would not be able to stop talking about this. You win the game. They actually would have won the game if Kareem. You know what's even crazier? It's back-to-back plays. Kareem Hunt, the play before, went out of bounds. If he doesn't go out of bounds,
they just kneel it.
They go to the 2-minute warning, and then it's 3 kneels. The Jets have no timeouts. The game's over. If Kareem Hunt just goes out of bounds, then
I gotta rewatch.
Nick Chubb.
I want to go back and watch.
If he just goes down at the 2-yard line, the game is over. I got
to see Flacco's face during this,
also,
while this is going down.
We need to talk about win probability. We need to talk about it because it's getting embarrassing. There are way too many times where you are listed as having a 99.9% chance of winning a game that it is not a 99.9% chance of winning. I don't know about ESPN's system, but they've got to fix it. The Ravens did not have a 99.9% chance of winning the game yesterday. They might have had a 95% chance. They might have had a 97%. But everything cannot be 99.9. There is 99.9 is you're in victory formation because there is still a 0.1% chance that you fumble the snap in victory formation. But anytime you're not in victory formation, you can't have a 99.9% chance of winning a football game. They got to fix their system, man. There's been way too much. I know it's like it gets a lot of tweets and retweets like, look at this. But it's insane. This system is flawed somehow. Not everyone has a 99.9% chance of winning a football game just because they have a lead. There is way too much that can happen in the course of a football game.
Another one, Lamar. He became the first NFL player in NFL history to have a 75-yard passing touchdown and a 75-yard rushing touchdown in the same game.
That's crazy. The other thing that jumps out to me, by the way, that's unique to this, it's so disconnected from this goes back to the way that the offense and defense work in the NFL. When Chase Edmonds broke that run yesterday and there's still about a minute left, the Ravens had to let him score. They had to I know that they can't. They never will, especially because it's only a 3-point game, so in their mind they still can get a stop and force a field goal, and it's only a tie at that point. But, man, the worst thing that happened there was tackling Chase Edmonds, because instead you only got the ball back with 14 seconds instead of getting the ball back with 40-some seconds and timeouts to try to go score a touchdown and win. Like that. This is the NFL now, man. It's like arena football. It is next to impossible to play defense. It's not impossible, but it's next to impossible. Sorry, go ahead.
Tua also became the 5th player in NFL history with 4 passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And he was the second quarterback to ever throw 4 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter on the road, joining Joe Montana, who did it in 1989.
Two greatest quarterbacks of all time, Joe Montana and Tua Tagovailoa.
Yes. Joe Flacco also became
obviously the other storyline. A heck of a weekend for the Tagovailoas.
Yeah.
I mean,
good for them.
Don't feel good about it, but.
Joe Flacco, he became the first Jets quarterback with 300 passing yards and 4 touchdowns since Vinny Testaverde in 2000 against the Dolphins. That was on the Monday Night Miracle. And then the last one I have is it was the second day in NFL history that saw 3 13-point comebacks. The only other time that happened was October 4th, 1992. So yesterday the Jets came back, down 13. Dolphins came back, and the Cardinals against the Raiders. Yep. All right. So with my tidbit, Joe Flacco, he led his 25th career game-winning drive yesterday against the Cleveland Browns. So I wanted to know, and that actually puts him among active quarterbacks. He is 9th with 25 game-winning drives. So I want to know if you can name the top 10. So 8 guys ahead of him, and the 1 guy that rounds out the top 10.
Tom Brady.
Yes, Tom Brady, number 1, 54. He is also, I think he is tied with Peyton for 54 all-time games.
So maybe drives. Peyton Manning would be. Is he on the list?
No, among active guys. So active quarterbacks is my tidbit question.
Oh,
I was just throwing out there that Peyton among all time. Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
And number 4, yes, 33 game-winning drives for Broncos country.
Matt Ryan,
number 2, 42, tied for second, 42 game-winning drives.
Aaron Rodgers,
number 7, 27 game-winning drives for Aaron Rodgers.
I know he didn't win a lot, but Matt Stafford,
there you go, number 2. He's tied with Matt Ryan, 42 game-winning drives.
So it starts to get interesting around here because you get past the guys that have been in the league for forever,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to start thinking about either guys that have done it so much in a short amount of time or guys that have just sort of hung around long enough that they could crack. So Kirk Cousins, for example.
Kirk Cousins rounds out the top 10. He has 20 game-winning drives in his 10-year NFL career.
Now it's the guys that have done it a lot and a little. Mahomes.
Mahomes is not up there yet.
Yeah, it's tough.
He only has only 10 game-winning drives in his 5-year career.
I don't got to figure out how they're defining game-winning drives then, because that number is shallow. That's a shallow number.
I guess just because they're always winning most of the time.
Yeah, I
so.
think there's something off about that number. I think
I can look into it.
it's how they're defining game-winning drives. Like it's game-winning drives in what part of the fourth quarter or something like that. Because what they're saying, he's just always ahead, so they don't give him a game-winning drive. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, I get that.
Dak Prescott, 11. He is not in the top 10. 17 game-winning drives. He's 11th among active.
Ryan
players.
Tannehill.
Game ahead of Joe Flacco. He has 26 game-winning drives.
Surprising.
Yeah. I guess because he just gets to hand it off to Derrick Henry, and then he runs.
Man, I hear you. Derek Carr.
There you go. Derek Carr, number 5. He has 30 game-winning drives.
There's one more on this list.
One more. He is a backup, so he's not a current starter.
Not Matt Schaub still in the league?
No, not Matt Schaub. I don't think he is still in the league either.
I have no idea if he's still in the league or not. A backup. All right, wait, it's 12-24. Who is it?
It is Andy Dalton.
Oh, right.
Backing up
Jameis,
right? No, yeah.
Yeah, correct. That's right.
Yeah. Andy Dalton is 5th.
All right, very good. By the way, Jameis threw 3 interceptions yesterday. That's so weird. He almost never does that. So weird how we keep trying to convince ourselves that this is going to be Jameis's year. Just this will be the one. This will be the one.
Bucks might have a good defense. Who knows?
They do have a good defense, but Jameis Winston throws a lot of interceptions. It's who he is. Like, it's intrinsic to him.
Who do they have this week? I've got to figure out if I want to start him at quarterback.
All right. Boy, I might have to play him in I've got a league where I got Russell Wilson, and I've got some questions.
I decided to start Marcus Mariota yesterday over Jameis.
So.
I was beating my friend by he only had one player going in the 1 o'clock window, so it was a defense. I think it was the Dolphins defense actually.
Okay.
And I was beating him 84 to -4 at one point.
Oh wow.
And but after the Ravens lost, I just kind of checked out. I have not checked the score.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I think I'm winning.
All right, here's coming up totally tubular-wise. Totally Tubular brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, the best place to watch and bet on every big-time sporting event. Thursday Night Football tonight, Monday Night Football doubleheader. Where are you going to go? Watch both the games. The media wall, unlike you don't have to choose, they're both going to be right there in front of you to bet on both games tonight, Monday Night Football. Reserve your spot by emailing events@sportssocialmd.com. Orioles tonight open up the series with the Tigers, 7 o'clock on MASN 2. Tyler Wells versus Tyler Alexander. How about that? It's the Tyler showdown tonight. ESPN for Titans Bills at 7:15, then ABC for Vikings Eagles at 8:30. I don't get it. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't just do a doubleheader, but whatever.
I think they said like the ratings for the 10 o'clock Eastern start times are just
they're probably
really
not
bad.
good. I understand,
So
but are they gonna have great ratings when there's 2 games going on at the same time? I don't know.
Guess we'll find out.
I don't know. Whatever.
Not sure.
MASN for Nationals Braves at 7:20. MLB Network Twins Guardians at 1. Mariners Angels at 4. Mets Brewers 7:30. Diamondbacks Dodgers at 10:30. And the USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Anything non-sports wise?
Season 22 of The Voice premieres tonight. Ooh. Camila Cabello is one of the new.
What was Cabello?
Cabello. Sure, we'll go with Cabello. She's one of the new judges or whatever they do on that. Let's see. Kevin can F himself. New episode of that. Best in Dough is a new show premiering on Hulu. It's like a pizza making competition. Nothing.
Sure.
Nothing.
I mean, what do you want me to say here?
I don't know. I mean, I thought you liked the cooking stuff. Let's see. Johnny
I like
Knoxville.
Master. I don't know what this is.
Johnny Knoxville is going to be on Kimmel.
What's he plugging?
So there's a new show called Reboot. I think it's coming out on Hulu on Wednesday or Thursday or something. But Knoxville's in it. Keegan-Michael Key, somebody else. But Keegan-Michael Key's going to be on Corden plugging it. So it seems, I don't know.
I want to like the idea, but I don't know.
Yeah, it looked okay.
Like
I think it comes out on Wednesday on Hulu. But yeah, so Knoxville's going to be on Kimmel. The Black Eyed Peas are performing on James Corden as well. Ken Burns and Ana de Armas on Stephen Colbert tonight.
Very good. Sure. Find it all at GlennClarkRadio.com.
Yeah,
thanks today. Thanks
to
to Qadry. Thanks to Rita. Thanks to Jeremy. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
archives. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day, so I had to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Sure. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
Stuff and things.
Stuff and things. Stuff and things. Big day of stuff and things tomorrow. You know what? I'll go ahead and announce it. We know who Tyus Bowser's guest is going to be for the Tyus Bowser Show tomorrow night. You perhaps heard of him. His name is Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey will join Tyus Bowser tomorrow night at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. We're still working on some final details about Marlon. I know you'll be able to meet him. I'm not going to promise that you can definitely get a free autograph from Tyus. I can't promise that yet with Marlon, but we're going to work on those details. What we know is that Marlon will definitely be there, and you will be able to meet him tomorrow night at Skipjack's Crab Deck in Middle River. That is a promise. All right, thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, the Royal Farms, Costas Inn, the Maryland Lottery, Guilford Hall Brewery, Grade 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Grill, Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin. You can follow him on Twitter at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too.